Welcome to yet another episode of The InEVitable. This is MotorTrend's podcast on the future of the automobile. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What are we going to do when cars don't have steering wheels, when they drive themselves? I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jonny Lieberman. Hello, Jonny.
Hey, Ed. And today we are joined by our co-workers, Christian Seabaugh and Scott Evans. And
yes.
I'm a little nervous about this one because,
I'm not.
Well, you know, just for me, a little bit of job security. Like, you know, what if we got some coworkers in here who, you know, did a better job than me and you tried to replace them? But luckily it's these
Good
two,
idea.
so they're not going to do a better job than me. But no, that's the joke.
These are our they're kind of veterans now at this point. It seems like yesterday when they first joined the team. But Scott Evans and Christian are
both
senior editors on the team. And if you don't like this episode, you can blame me. This was kind of my idea. I was texting with Jonny, and I was like, you know, we should probably have Scott and Christian on. And the spark to this actually came from some recent stories that we've done. And really, it was kind of Christian leading this. He had kind of two in a row on the EV front. He wrote a really good piece. He ran down a story on Tesla's new semi-truck. And then that took off on the site, kind of went viral. And then the following week, he did a story with an irresistible headline about how it can cost you like $18,000 to install a
home charger,
home charging for your Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck. And that also took off. And then I got to thinking, like, well, who else on staff has done a lot on EVs and is very knowledgeable? And it came up with Scott Evans as well, because he's done a bunch of stuff.
And I said, hey, this is a great idea because not only do we have that angle, but it's not like these guys got into the business to be electric car evangelists. You know, they wanted to write about like Mustangs and Camaros and Fieros and Vipers and stuff like that, like literally opposite of what they're kind of really becoming expert at. And so, and same for me. I mean, I honestly just wanted to drive Veyrons. That was my whole thing for going pro when writing about cars.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never be able to afford one, but I could probably mooch my way into a bunch of them. And yet I've now kind of, without thinking about it really, like become, I co-host an EV podcast or a future car podcast. So just
same stretch for me. I got into it for the minivans, and now here I am doing EVs. So, you know.
It's very true. All right, well, how about we get these two in here and we'll talk to Scott and Christian.
Yes.
Scott and Christian, welcome
to the InEVitable.
Yes, so Ed has this dumb bell that he thinks is really funny that anytime you say the word inevitable, the bell gets wrung. And I'm going to throw it away when he's not looking, but this is a new thing.
The best $8 I've ever spent on Amazon.
The happy face is menacing.
Right. We have already introduced you guys, so we don't have to talk about who you are, but let's talk about why you're here. And we can set up a little bit like how you got to MotorTrend. This will be...
Yeah, let's go one by one. So, Scott, you're a little bit older.
You guys have, like us, you work at the best place in the universe, in the known universe.
That's true.
So many of our listeners, all four of them, are dying to know, how do you make it to the promised land? Like what was the journey? Let's start with Scott. Why not?
Yeah, not only are we here, but we're both like we're all lifers here basically. I got started here because I knew somebody who knew somebody. I found out, my mom called me one day. And she worked at a hospital, and she said, I was talking to Dr. Jernecka, and did you know his son writes for a car magazine?
Rory Jernecka.
What?
Wow.
Turns out Rory and I went to the same high school. We were 2 years apart, never knew each other. Never even heard his name. And
turns out Rory's dad was a doctor.
Also that, heart surgeon. And so I go, well, get me his email, his phone number, something like. So she did, and I wrote him a nice email. I didn't ask for a job or anything. I was just like, what did you study? How did you get there? How did you get in the industry? And he emailed me back a nice email, and he also passed my email to Mike Floyd, who
has done 90% of the hiring at MotorTrend. So basically everybody who works at MotorTrend, with the exception of, I hired Elisa Priddle, I hired Eric Tingwall, I hired Miguel. I should hit the bell for that.
Why?
Yeah, Miguel's awesome. I didn't. Angus hired you.
Angus hired me.
With my approval.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right, indeed. All right, so you ultimately ended up at Mike, but you didn't set up. Where were you at the time? You were in college?
I was finishing my last semester of college at San Jose State, and he just emailed me and was like, hey, we're starting this daily news blog. We're calling it Wide Open Throttle. and we need people to like write just simple news stories. We'll send you a press release. You do some research, write a nice little thing. We'll pay you $20 a blog.
And this is 2000...
Spring of 2008.
Okay.
And so I was at Autoblog at the time, and I think we were getting $25 a news story. So
Wow.
MotorTrend was undercutting Autoblog.
So you started as a freelancer writing for Wide Open Throttle. Okay.
But didn't you work at a scooter magazine or something?
I was interning at Scoot Magazine, the number one scooter magazine in the country.
What was number 2?
I don't remember. But it was great, and it was actually a heck of a learning experience because the editor-in-chief, who also worked at Starbucks for the benefits at the same time.
Also worked at Nike?
No.
Angus worked at Starbucks? Oh, wait, sorry.
No, it was a super small operation, and tragically, he got in a big accident. Some kid trying to drift his Lexus like hit him on his scooter and put him in the hospital. And so I kind of ended up like the only person in the office, which was about the size of this podcasting room, for every day for like the whole semester. It was like doing all like the mailing people their T-shirts they bought and they're filling their subscriptions and things because everybody who worked there had a job somewhere else, and this was a passion project that they did on the side.
Huh.
Right.
And you were an intern? You were a paid intern?
Paid in free swag. I got a helmet and jacket and pants and boots. Like,
Wait,
bunch of, like,
were
gear.
you a scooter enthusiast at the time?
No, I was in motorcycles, so I didn't really know anything about scooters, but it was really interesting. And they were really cool people. I'm still friends with them today. Like they're really great. And I've since like ridden scooters and
Aren't
learned a lot about them.
motorcycles way cooler than scooters? Like how could you?
Have you met Scott?
Okay, all right.
I held my tongue. I was going to say I didn't know anything about scooters. I'm like, it's a lame, slow motorcycle. But,
Wow.
And you sit on it like you're on the toilet.
They love them in Italy.
Yes, and were you with your big injury? Was it on a scooter or a motorcycle in Italy?
The one in Italy was on a scooter.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
That was on it, yes.
So that's full circle.
Yes. Although I have a motorcycle also put me in the hospital, so I'm 2 for 2.
Did your injury on the scooter in Italy make the pages of Scoot magazine?
All
Scoot
right.
Magazine is unfortunately no longer in print. So
Okay, so how long did you freelance before we brought you on?
about 6 months. And yeah, Floyd said, come to LA, let's talk about doing this full time. So I flew down here, wore my dad's suit, rented a car, went and met everybody, took myself to the Peterson Museum because I had way more time than I thought I needed.
We were still at Wilshire.
Wilshire, yeah.
Yeah, so
Second floor.
Yeah, because Scott predates me.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we were on we were at 14, what's the address? I don't even remember anymore.
It was like Wilshire and San Vicente, basically.
Yeah, a tall building. It's now the Nikon building, I think. But Peterson used to have the whole thing. And at the time I was there, we were probably we had the 6th or 7th to like the 15th floor or something. That was all the former company. Prime
That's
Media.
huge.
So
And I tell people that like I started a month to the day before the Lehman Brothers collapsed, and I was sure, having only been there 30 days, that like I was going to get laid off so fast. And this is going to be like, well, at least it's on my resume. I worked for MotorTrend for a month. That'll help me get a job somewhere else.
What Lehman Brothers was October?
September of 2008.
So I'll tell
and
you-
y'all never fired me.
I'll tell you a funny story. I don't think anyone here knows this. So I was going to be working for Automobile, and it was supposed. And I remember it was like December of 2008. I was going to start doing something. I don't remember who I was talking to. And then I remember at the LA Auto Show, which was November of 2008. Whoever it was like, "Yeah, it's not happening." I'm like, "What?" Like I planned to leave. They're like, "Nah, it's not happening." So that's great. They kept you on.
Yeah.
so then, okay. When did you start? Christian.
May of 2011.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That much farther?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you came in. You weren't an intern. You were
Right
part
out
of the
college.
news team.
Yeah. Yeah. Right onto the Wide Open Throttle team. It still existed back then. Yeah.
Right.
And we were already down in.
El Segundo. Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I've never been to the Wilshire. I started July of 2010, July 27th.
I feel like we interviewed you at one time.
Nope.
Really?
I never went. I never went.
Wilshire was awesome. Wilshire was like old school.
It was awesome if you all had an office, because all the offices had windows. You had great views of LA.
Angus McKenzie had a corner office that looked down Wilshire, and it was just the coolest thing. You just look out and be like, it felt very Mad Men. Built-ins, like just great, like this weird sort of desk with all the built-ins. And
Never
walls.
spent a minute there.
All 4 of us on Wide Open Throttle were in the cubicles in the middle of the building where like we couldn't see anything. My first one, I'd like go like around in like a maze, like in a circle to get over by the copier where
It's a bullpen.
where my one-
It's fine. It's fine. It's a great place to start.
Well, then we moved into the big bullpen where we also had the Wii tennis tournaments.
That's
every
right.
afternoon.
That's right. We had the era of the Nintendo Wii. God, I've been there a long time.
Yeah.
So Christian, you started in 2011, also
Yeah.
Weidman Throttle news team,
Yep.
and you came from where?
School. I was a journalism major in college.
What college?
St. Bonaventure University, middle of nowhere, Western New York, near Buffalo.
Okay.
Oof.
Yeah, cold.
Yeah, good basketball team, right? That's is that
we
St.
were-
St.
St.
Bonnie's?
Bonaventure,
Yeah. Okay.
We were garbage back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hockey
And-
player.
And
Yeah.
you were a Floyd hire?
I was a Floyd hire. Yeah, Floyd. I applied my senior year, like I think maybe January, and then Floyd emailed me back saying, "Oh, we'd love to have you come for an interview." And I panicked. I called my mom, like, "Hey, I need to get to LA," and then she's like, "Why? You can't do it over the phone? You can't do it on Zoom?" We had Zoom, or I guess it would have been Skype back then.
Skype,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably, sure.
Yeah, so I called Floyd up and explained to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, no worries." And then Skype interview, and
Oh, no kidding.
yeah, I put my mohawk down. I had a mohawk at the time.
What color? What color was
Not,
it?
no color, no color.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, he was foolish enough to hire me.
Oh, wait. For those of you who maybe read MotorTrend magazine or look at the website on occasion, Christian is the hot blonde in all of the pictures that end up on the cover.
Yep.
Like, we get letters every now and then say, who's the blonde driving the car? So
Well, that's one of my favorite stories. I think you were both there. So we were in Colorado.
Yeah, Steamboat Springs.
Steamboat Springs, and we were at a winter driving school, Bridgestone, I think. And I think it was a female instructor.
Well, they'd paired us up
No,
with
but
other
there-
students. Yeah.
Yes, but there was a female
Yeah.
instructor, and there was a young, I think she was 15, 14
She
year
was
old.
like a permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Named Brittany. And like every time she was trying to talk to Christian, just because long blonde hair, she kept saying, "Hey, Brittany," over the radio. Brittany, no,
Brittany, slow down.
Yeah. And so we called her Brittany for like years
It's great.
after that.
Years later, we were at Car of the Year, and I'm walking. He was sitting in a Boxster making notes, and I walk past, and I'm like, "Sweet car," and he goes, "It's Brittany, bitch."
That's great. All right. So, okay, we established that how you guys got here.
And let's also talk about how they literally started on the bottom and worked their way up. I mean, they're
Right
both
to the middle.
senior editor. I mean, that's
Right to the middle.
and I remember, you don't know this story. This is one of my favorite stories. I used to have lunch with Floyd a lot, and we were talking about, promoting some people and blah, blah, blah. And he had told me on Wednesday that I think on Friday or Monday, he was going to promote you, Christian.
Yeah.
And you drove me and my wife to the airport on Thursday. And I'm like, "How's it going?" 'Cause I hadn't talked to you in a while. And you're like, "I don't know, man. Like, I kind of want to, like, I don't know. I think I'm out of here." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, just wait it out. Wait, because I knew it was coming like the next day. And then you got your promotion.
I don't
So-
remember that conversation. I remember that drive in that CTSV, and I almost stalled it like 4 or 5 times. I was so nervous.
CTSV wagon, yes,
Yeah.
our long term. That's how long ago it was, though. That was
2009.
No.
11.
11.
That was
12.
it would have been in 12
yeah.
that the conversation happened because it was a.
Ah, you were so upset after a year of working.
Honestly, it might have been 2 years.
that you
It was-
didn't
it was
get a
not-
big promotion.
Hey,
Please.
come on, Ed. Come on. It was. I kept him. I'm telling you.
Oh, that was the year I got editor in chief. Was I
Yes.
editor in chief?
I was promoted to associate editor right before you got editor in chief. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how we've fallen. Anyways.
Yeah.
So why are we here? Why are we here talking to you guys? I was thinking about this thing. We do this podcast called The InEVitable, all about electric
Ding
vehicles,
yourself.
all about where we're going, and we can go backwards in time, we can go forwards in time. I don't know, but both of you have actually done a lot in the space, a lot recently. We are laser focused on talking about this stuff, covering the mass adoption, and just finding interesting storylines. And I guess we can start with the one that you both were involved. All three of you, except for me, were involved in, and it was Christian's brainchild, which was we did the Rivian TransAmerica Trail. Is it 2 years now?
Almost.
Yeah, just about.
August of 21.
August
Yeah.
of 2021. And this
Started in June, yeah.
this was June of 2021. Well, you set it up. What do we do?
We drove coast to coast off road in an electric pickup truck. barely any pavement, I think, only when we had to.
Yeah, like a few miles a day.
Yeah.
Just to get to a hotel to charge
It was usually to get to your hotel or your campsite or wherever you were going to like sleep and charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went from the Outer Banks, North Carolina to, I don't even remember where we ended up, Port Orford, Oregon.
And
Yeah.
it was 7,700 miles off-road.
Yep, 43
days?
43 days, yeah.
Which is insane. We'll get to that. You came up with this idea?
Yeah, originally I was going to do it with Jeep when the new Wrangler came out, and I kind of pitched it a little bit to Jeep, and they seemed sort of interested, and then it kind of fell apart. The time, there's a huge time suck, and a new Wrangler probably wasn't worth sending someone out for a month and a half. And then RJ, the CEO of Rivian,
RJ Scaringe.
yeah, he came by our office to show us the R1T with a virtual reality goggles. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw it and started asking a question about it being off-road capable, and it looked like it could do, nice off-road things, and I kind of just went from there. I was like, this could be the car to do it.
So you mentioned it to him, or you
No,
mentioned
I just
it to
thought it. I thought about it, and I brought it up eventually to
Amy? Was it Amy? Amy Mast?
It would have been Amy. No, actually, it was before her. It would have been Michael McHale.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
that's how long
McHale?
ago. Yeah, when he was.
He was there
Early
for a hot second.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
but
wow.
and originally this was planned for like 2020, right? Or
maybe even 2019, pre-pandemic, and then he kept delaying it. Then he left, and then I started working with Amy on it.
And she's now at Ford.
Yeah, she
Just
left,
went,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, long story long. Yeah, it took 3 or 4 years to get it going.
Well, it got pushed, pandemic and production delays with Rivian.
Yep.
Right, and they had a whole thing. It was going to be do the thing, but they would have the RAN, the Rivian Adventure Network, to do the
Yep.
charging. That didn't really happen.
That never panned out, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, fast forward. So you
Well, hang on. So I will say, I actually owe Christian a huge apology because I was super sour. I was just like, I've been involved in so many of these things where a startup at the last second just like pulls the plug, and I was being really mean. I remember on in whatever Slack, and I was like, this is not happening, and you were like, well, then you're not going, something. You said something like that, and
Yeah, I think I told you didn't have to go.
yeah, and I was just sort of like, oh, I kind of want to go if it actually happens. I didn't say anything, but I owe you an apology because it was brilliant, and
Apology
you pulled it
accepted.
off, and it was such a fun. I remember like flying home and telling my wife, I'm like, I'm gonna buy one of these damn things. It's incredible.
Yeah.
it was insane. When it was proposed, I was like, how can this take?
Still shocked that you
How
said
can
yes.
how
to be
can this
honest.
take so long? Like I started looking at this thing and I was like, we're gonna get annihilated. The fastest somebody's done the TAT is like
A
seven.
little over 2 weeks.
17 days,
Yeah,
I
something
think.
like that,
And I was
yeah.
like, this thing, when it first got spec'd, it was like, it's going to be like 40 days. And I was like,
To be honest,
39 or something.
Yeah, I think Rivian definitely padded it a bit. We could have, if we didn't have their support, and ignoring anything that broke down, we could have done it quicker. I'm pretty confident in that.
Okay. But yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you do it to charge the things, though. That is the problem.
But I mean, most of the time, I don't know about your leg, but on the 1st and the 5th, we charged mostly at night. Like we maybe did 1 or 2 fast charges.
we had to do 2. We did a big distance. We weren't doing like that many crazy obstacles.
You went from Georgia.
We
to...
went from Georgia to Oklahoma,
Okay.
which is
Yeah, it's a ways.
it was a big
so,
schlep. Yeah.
so 5 waves.
Yeah, so the
5 weeks.
Yep. First
Basically.
wave would have been North Carolina to Georgia, Georgia to Oklahoma, Oklahoma to
Utah.
Utah back to
Utah.
Utah. One end of Utah through Nevada back into Utah, and then the last bit was Utah to Oregon.
And, completely as 90%, 95% off-road the entire way. I did sort of parachute in Utah halfway
Yeah.
through, and I got to hang out with RJ and drive the truck over some of the trails out there, and sort of that was
You're in Moab, right?
It was a Moab. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really wanted to see the truck, drive the truck, and also just sort of hang out with RJ because the guy is like the second coming of Elon.
You're also leaving out the best part where you cooked us all tacos on the camp kitchen.
Oh right. Oh yeah, I did do that. that was also the thing. I wanted to try out this camp kitchen and also the barbecue. We had a barbecue.
Oh, that would have been nice. We had
nearby.
a Canadian lady, I think she was Canadian, cook us tacos, and me and Miguel were just like so horrified, but trying to be nice.
She's
Like,
Canadian.
or I can't remember. She's very sweet. Her name's Lily. She's wonderful. But it was like, I'm gonna make tacos, and Miguel was just like, oh no, Johnny. Like,
I remember now that you brought it back. I totally forgot about that. I I had to chop like a bag of onions in this tent with like a dull knife and like and this weird cutting board to make. And we were making guacamole and stuff too. But that was pretty fun. That was super fun.
The best part about it is that we had stopped on the way down from the airport. We went to a liquor store in town and bought like 2 bottles of whiskey to like share with everyone at the camp that night. And we opened one of them, we drank it, and the other one just walked away at the end of the night with I think one of the Rivian people like just. And I was like, oh, well, don't bring it. We'll open it tomorrow night at the next stop. Never came back.
Right. So, we're just going to bounce around just because why not?
Yeah.
Prior to, so you've been at 2008, 2011. So what was the first electric car you drove, Scott?
The first one I drove was actually a prototype back in, I want to say, 2009. Chrysler wanted to show that, they were forward thinking. They just come out of bankruptcy. And they did this event where they had taken a Grand Caravan, a Wrangler Unlimited, and a Lotus Europa and put electric motors and batteries in them to show that they were going to make electric cars. They did this whole thing. They did it up
Why a Lotus?
I don't know.
But Tesla was doing it too. They had
put
the
a
Roadster at the time.
Right. They basically just copied Tesla. They put a Dodge badge on the front of it, and they did it at the Rose Bowl parking lot. And they're like, "Look how fast the Lotus is in a straight line." The Jeep guys couldn't stop talking about what would be the Rivian concept. They're like, "Someday, this one we just put an electric motor where the transmission used to be, but someday you could have 4 motors. You could have one on each wheel, and man, imagine when you go off road and each wheel is controlled by each motor, and you could do all this stuff." And then nothing happened for like 12 years. And then here comes Rivian with a 4 motor that did exactly what they had been talking about.
Sure. Okay. Chris, your first?
Yeah, mine I was thinking about on the way in. I think it was probably a Mitsubishi IMEV.
Oh,
Yeah.
Auspicious start.
Yeah.
I went on the launch.
It's either that or a Coda. It was one of those two.
I think Coda was first.
Coda would have been 2012 or 11 car of the
11.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of those two, and I was helping out for car of the year.
I think it was the Coda because I went on the IMEV launch, which I mean, if we ever do a show just about like press launches, which we should,
You should.
It was the most like the guy that was our guide through Japan, who was an American guy who spoke like good Japanese, was let out of an insane asylum. Because they wanted an American guy that could speak proper Japanese, and then went back to it once we were done.
Perfect.
Yeah, and man, that was a poor car.
Yeah, lift throttle understeer is very interesting.
So wait, that was your first EV?
No, that was my first. No. That was I went on the press trip to Japan to drive the IMEV.
What was your first EV?
The first one, I mean, I drove a Roadster, so I guess in 2008 or whenever the Tesla Roadster came out. Okay. And I remember just like loving it, except for the fact that, I left with, 100 miles of range and I went really, really fast. And then I had like, I had like 30 miles of range left. And I was like, and so I was like, whoa, they have a long way to go.
Where would you have even charged it back then?
Oh, you wouldn't. I don't
A
know.
wall socket.
Look, first of all, I mean, I didn't know anything. Yeah. I just kind of was like, I wasn't thinking about it as an EV. I was thinking about it like, this thing is so fast, and I like Lotuses, so I'm going to take it on I'm going to go from, the Tesla showroom right off the 405 on
Wilshire or Santa Monica.
Whatever it is. And I'm going to go to Malibu, and I'm going to wing, yeah. And then like I had not driven very many miles, and I had like burned 70 of my 100 miles.
You were like still in Santa
range.
Monica.
So I had to come back at like 5 miles an hour to make it back to the showroom.
I remember it would have been around the same time. We had a original Tesla Roadster at the Wilshire office, and we couldn't take it. I was like much too junior to just be like taking cars and running away with them at that time. But like we were able to like drive around the block, and the real like thing was it was a privately owned car, and they had some module on it that lets you change the horn to like animal sounds and like sound effects and things. So we just like drove around the block, around the Wilshire building, just like making cow noises at pedestrians on the street and confusing everyone.
Right. And now that's the whoopee cushion. The front
now it comes from the
noises.
factory.
Yeah.
So you guys came into this.
Wait, Ed, you got to say, what's your first?
I don't remember, to be honest. It's probably I can't remember if I actually drove the Roadster.
Oh, you'd remember. It was a pretty good car.
Leaf, maybe?
It would have been I definitely drove a Leaf. I famously went into turtle mode, and we had fully discharged the battery at Car of the Year in the Leaf on like classic, like this is like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Like we ran out of batteries on the train tracks into Tehachapi. And I had to like get on the radio. I'm like, guys, the car is on the train tracks.
How did you get
And Tehachapi is a train town. So like there was going to be a train coming. So like Brian and the other guys had to come up and they had hopped out of the car. We had to push the thing across the track.
You were able to push it?
Yeah, we got it was, thank God. Because we got it across the track and to the charger in limp mode. But yeah, I mean Coda
Coda surprisingly okay going left or right.
Yeah, everybody kind of crapped on it, and you know we had Zinger.
That's the only car I've ever been in where the seams weren't straight on the seats.
No, not a good car, but like I remember taking her on the figure 8. I'm like, you know what? Like EVs have this advantage.
Yeah,
we had Zinger here and Kevin Zinger, and you know
Zinger was the CEO of Coda.
At the
I learned
time.
that years later. I'm like. Yeah. Wow, that's a
visionary, right? And he came when he was here telling us about it. It was nothing about the car itself. It was about how do you get the battery, find a battery with the right chemistry that can charge quick enough, and this and that, and then hit the price. He basically proved Elon correct in that you got to go premium. You have to go for a higher end car to have the profits. You can't, because everybody's been saying like EV is only for rich people. So, but Coda was a failure of trying to do the volume car first, right?
Mm-hmm. But also the car wasn't that competitive for the time compared to a Leaf. I don't remember the range of the Coda offhand, but
it was about 100.
Yeah, it was like 80, 85.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them making a really big deal that Porsche Design had consulted on the design of the hood and the grille on the car.
Well, because it was a Mitsubishi in every other panel. That's the reason why.
So, you guys came to MotorTrend though. Why? Why did you? And I have a longer point to this, but what was the interest, Christian?
I loved cars. I mean,
specifically what? What kind of cars? What about cars?
I mean, growing up, I had pictures. I would print out pictures of like Dodge Vipers and put them on my wall. I loved muscle cars. I really wanted a Camaro. I loved WRXs. I really wanted one of those. I just always wanted to be around cars. When I was a kid, we didn't have a car until I was probably 11 because we grew up in New York City. And whenever I'd go to my grandparents' house, I'd always go missing and it'd be found in the garage. My grandfather had a 911, probably an 83 Targa, and I would just go sit in it and make sounds and work the shifter and Okay. I wanted to drive everything.
Okay. And Scott?
Well, I didn't have a car and driver, so
same.
No, but like very similar story to Christian's, right? Like I made like hot rods out of my Legos when I was a kid. I could tell you every car on the road at night based on like the tail lights and the headlights, right? Like and neither of my parents were super into it. My dad had a couple cool cars when he was younger, but like it wasn't like, oh yeah, we were in the garage every weekend. Like it was really self-taught. I just loved cars. I really wanted in high school, I wanted a 4th gen F-body, like a Firebird Firehawk.
Those were cool.
Like with the 6-speed and like.
So you were right when you said.
I said they're both meatheads.
Yes. Okay.
But again, so I look. I didn't even know it was called this, but I think my favorite issue every year was the buyer's guide issue because it had the engine specs of every single car, and therefore I could memorize them. So I could go to my mom when I'm 10 years old, like, oh look, it's a I don't know, a Geoprism, and it has a 1.6 liter
LSI.
It's overhead valve. It's 8 valves. And like, you know what I mean? Like, and I literally knew every single fact about every single car. So it's sort of inevitable that I wound up. I was gonna smack it. That I wound up like doing this, but like you two, I sort of got into this. I didn't want to write the minivan comparison tests. I wanted to like. I know they're so much fun. I know you're very pleasant on them, but like I wanted to do big smoky burnouts and dumb things and burn a lot of gas and everything. And I have found myself kind of becoming this champion for EVs and trying to do it, I think, in a logical way, maybe with a little bit of passion. But like, did you ever see either of you think like I'm going to be like the guy? My best article this year is because I wrote about an electric vehicle or how to install a charger.
Yeah, my best article this year talking about amperage of my home panel. Like it's insane.
Well, yeah. So that
do you know
that
what
is
amperage is.
Now I do.
that is why, again, as we talked about in the intro, why they're here. These guys have done a lot of the most recent coverage on MotorTrend.com. That's going to appear in the magazine on this weird moment we're in, where people are, mass EV adoption. It's starting to take off, right? We passed the 5% threshold in the summer of 2022. This is in terms of all new vehicle sales, 5% of them now are EVs, and that's a critical sort of gateway. As we said during our last podcast with Franz, you know, the early adopters have adopted. A lot of them have adopted Leafs or IMEVs. Most of them
Not a lot of IMEVs.
A lot of Teslas. But now we're hitting sort of the
Ioniq 5.
Yeah, like so sort of the fatter part of the curve, and it's getting really interesting because I think the patience, that the patience, the understanding for like some of the difficulties or challenges around EV ownership is a lot lower.
But let Christian answer, Ed, if I may pull you for a second.
Excuse me.
Like if your 14-year-old Christian self found out that you were like writing about home charging for electric pickup trucks for a living, like what would you make of that?
Nerd. I mean, like
Scott?
I'd be like confused, right? Because my first car was a '67 Beetle, and I lived in Santa Cruz, which is like Beetle capital of the country, and every so often you'd hear about somebody who converted one to electric, because those were some of the first cars you would convert. You just stuck an electric motor right to the transmission and like a couple of lead acid batteries under it, and it weighed 10 pounds. Didn't matter. And so I'd be like, oh, but like, why would I? Like, I know about this, I've heard of this, but like, why would I like care? Like, there's LS1s over here.
Why wouldn't he be writing in a scooter magazine? Right.
Because I find myself in this weird position where it's like, you know, I still like to think of myself as like an expert on supercars and stuff like that, but I get all this stuff like you hate gasoline. It's like,
no,
I don't hate gasoline. I'm just conscious of the fact that an EV is 4.5 times more efficient, and that's just like a mathematical fact. You can't ignore that.
It's like a yes and. It's not like a either or. And so many people feel like it's an either or situation.
I like that. But hang on, I just want to confirm one thing, because I just want to confirm the meathead analogy. Make sure it's accurate.
My first car was a Mustang GT. I daily drove it in the snow in Western New York. I mean,
and I know you like Fieros, but here's the
poor Scott.
Hey, look, I paid my own money for the car. The first, I got a speeding ticket in that car.
Wow.
When I was taken on the test drive.
You guys are missing.
I was dedicated to that.
You
car.
guys are missing here's the question of the meathead confirmation. The car selection is fine, great. What's in the tape deck of your car? That this is the part that.
This was early 2000s. There was a CD player first of all.
Okay, what's in the position one? What's CD one in your 6-disc?
Well, yeah. Once I got the face of the CD player out from under the seat where I hid it and put it back on the thing, I don't know. I've everything that you hear on like Hair Nation right now on Sirius XM, like that's what was in my like
so Motley
CD
Crue,
book,
Van Halen, Ozzy.
A lot of that. My wife and I still have a joke where I had a Whitesnake CD in one time, and she went to like turn it down or change it down. I was like, "Don't touch the Whitesnake," and she still says that to me like on a regular basis.
Well, there's so many ways to go with that.
Christian?
Honestly, I was a contrarian. That's why I'm an automotive journalist. So in high school, I listened to a lot of hair metal. But when I first got my first car, I was in college. So at that point, it probably would have been, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Van Halen, but also like Black Label Society, Metallica, maybe Slayer.
That's still meatheady. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Ozzy Osbourne.
All right. So you guys are now writing, confirmed meatheads. You guys love your muscle cars and the high performance stuff, and you're writing about this kind of content. And I think, look, admit we're all professionals at this table, and that's what I like about the team. That all the editors are able to sort of take themselves out of the story per se, separate their personal feelings, and write about topics that we think are interesting to a broader audience, as even-handedly, as fairly as possible. That to me defines sort of professional journalism. Stripping that away, personally, are you converts? Are you guys? You're now, and we should clarify. Right now, as one of the perks of landing at the best job in the universe, you both have long-term vehicles, and they both happen to be electric pickup trucks. Christian is shepherding MotorTrend's 2023 Truck of the Year, the F-150 Lightning, an $85,000 Lariat.
Yep.
Right? And Scott's had the pleasure and is about to turn in the 2022 MotorTrend Truck of the Year, the Rivian R1T, that I'm sure has gotten you a lot of looks at different parking lots and grocery stores. you guys have driven these trucks. You've driven all sorts of Teslas and other stuff. If you're gonna add one of these to your personal stable, is this a thing? Or are you like,
I work at MotorTrend, Ed,
right?
so I can't afford an F-150 like that.
Here we go. Yes, you could. Used, you could. A couple years.
Yeah, no. Honestly, for me, my wife has a plug-in hybrid, a Crosstrek hybrid. If I didn't work in this job, that's probably I'd do a plug-in hybrid just because the family aspect, the long distance travel is a commitment, and I'm not quite sure my family is ready for that commitment. You're living with the ID4 right now, and I think you're experiencing some similar things.
Yep.
So, but I personally wouldn't buy another vehicle that wasn't at least a plug-in hybrid.
Okay.
Or an EV.
So we'll get actually that's a good path. But you're still like. You're not like I want to buy a new Mustang Dark Horse. You're not not that interested.
I mean, if I was going to buy a gas powered vehicle, it'd have to be really good, and
really good in what way?
Engaging, fun. Because the thing is, I don't care about speed anymore because all EVs are so fast it just kind of warps your perception, and it doesn't matter. You can't go fast anyway. I'd rather have a good handling car. So, I mean, maybe a Camaro SS1 LE. Those are
the
fantastic
car ever
cars.
made. Yes.
I
keep looking because there was remember that like slime green paint they did?
Yeah.
Those resales are like way less than all the other colors. And like they're kind of at like under 25.
Yeah, but a person who bought that color would not expect an SS1 LE.
No. It was I think it was a 1LE color. At least.
Really?
Yeah. But it was. Those are cool.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would buy probably a used performance like a car. Yeah.
Well, Scott has to use. You got a Miata.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, my wife still daily drives her 1993 Miata.
So say used is you need a bigger term than that.
Yeah, that car can rent itself. That's all that car is.
But yeah, so are you? But how about you? Are you like EV now? Are you a full convert? Are you kind of still on the fence? Is this something that you would do if you?
Ed's asking me this, but he knows that like he and I and MotorTrend are like in this three-way bidding war to buy this R1T when it finishes its loan here.
I wasn't aware that I would somehow in competition. Isn't it just mine? Like, don't I get a?
Oh, yeah, you told me you licked the door handle like 9 months ago.
Yes. Okay. All right. So you're all about.
I love this truck. I would absolutely like keep this truck, own it. Honestly, but I would also, if I was going to buy like two cars right now, I would have this truck, and the other car that we always talk about that we want to buy is the car that we drove on our honeymoon that you actually hooked us up with, which was a 2011 Maserati Grand Cabrio. And It just has a special place because we drove it on our honeymoon for a couple of days, and it looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. Like, that's just a special car. And the new, as beautiful as the new Gran Turismos look, like they don't have that Ferrari V8 anymore. And yeah, so I'm somebody who wants a electric truck and also a Ferrari V8 and an impractical Italian coupe.
Well, the good news is you can probably buy one of those Maseratis for less than a 1993 Miata. Yeah.
You say that. I've been watching. They kind of plateaued around 40 grand
Really?
That's about as low as they got.
Johnny and I keep sending each other Quattroporte.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can get a Quattroporte for about $5,000.
Those are basically free, but
Okay.
no, the Gran Turismos and especially the convertibles have just not tanked quite as much.
Huh. Okay.
Well, I love my R1T, although I'm very annoyed with it right now because it has a cracked window,
How'd
which
that happen?
cannot be replaced. Oh, man. So the tonneau cover is on mine is just broken, been replaced a bunch, and I finally said, could you just permanently open it, because it had my kid had tried to close it and it got stuck. So the mobile Rivian guys came over and they're just disabling, they're putting it back in, and a new solution's coming in a few months, blah blah. So my wife goes to them, hey, the windows have been, I shouldn't have told me this, but the windows have been acting funny. Like sometimes like it won't power up, and I noticed that once in a while. She goes, and then sometimes it goes up, stops halfway and goes back down. Could you reset it? Now, because it's a software defined vehicle and the tech guys aren't really like, body guys, because I noticed this the second they left, they just said, oh yeah, we'll reset the windows. But I think that the window had come off the track a little bit. And so as it starts to go up, it gets a little resistance, thinks it's a human arm, and lowers back down, right? So, I like grabbed the window and I pulled it up with both hands, and it, I thought it was, I'm like, don't open it. So we went to Big Bear. She drove separate. I had to do something. I came up. Anyways, she opened the window and then didn't close it all the way. It got into the 20s overnight, and I think something moved in the door when it froze and the window wasn't seated and it cracked. The annoying part is they're like, yeah, we can, this is like last week, they're like, we can take you in on February 24th. And this was like on February 2nd. And so I'm like, that's kind of unacceptable because I want to, it's raining and I want like, it's not leaking water, but we just don't want to drive it when it'll make it worse. So I'm a little annoyed at that because that shouldn't be like a 4-week sitting around or 3 and a half
Well, what's
weeks.
really annoying is that like this is Rivian windows are sort of a known thing, and there's a procedure in the digital owner's manual in the infotainment screen of how to reset the window. And it's literally like put it all the way down and hold the button down for like 5 seconds, and that resets the software or whatever.
This was the guys plugged in a laptop, and not only did they, I watched it, not only did all the windows start going up and down, but the seats in the front started moving and doing all, just reset all that stuff. And the steering wheel was moving, I don't know, some procedure. But I was a little annoyed that it broke after these guys, quote unquote, reset the window and it hadn't broke before that.
Yeah.
So,
early adopter.
Early adopter product. Now, Scott's not actually so much an early adopter. Of the people at the table, you actually have the most experience in EV ownership because you are also the shepherder of the
Bolt, right?
of the Bolt when it was our 2017 car of the year, right? So tell us about that because did you have a home charger at that point?
So at that time, GM was running a promotion that if you bought a Bolt, they would include the charger and installation as a package deal. So when it won car of the year, they just handed it over to the same team that was doing all the deliveries for customers. And so they just put me on the list. They're like, oh, yeah, well, obviously you need a charger. So we're going to put a charger in your house. And it was like the whole package was like $1,200 for the charger plus like 30 feet of wiring. So it had to be that close to wherever your central
panel,
box was, your panel was.
Pretty standard, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had it, and this time you were in your home,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is 2018 when you got it, probably.
1780, somewhere around there, yeah.
Okay. So you had the charger installed. And this is a level 2?
It's a level 2. It's a 30 amp. It was like the original, like the AeroVironment green and white ones that were
Like
everywhere.
6.5 or something?
Something like that, 6.6 kilowatts. It's not fast, but for overnight, it's perfectly fine.
And the Bolts don't charge particularly quick.
No, they don't. I think even on fast chargers, they max at like 50 kilowatts or something. They're not the quickest.
How long does it take to charge the Rivian? Because it's a huge battery.
As always, it depends on how long, how empty it is.
From 20% to 70%.
I'd have to look at our charging log, honestly. But I know, like, most of the time, if I'm going to charge it at home, because it's low enough that I actually am going to plug it in, by overnight, it's fine.
Okay.
So you're not, okay, so when you were, because this is, world's moved on since 2018. You must have been the only guy with an EV in your driveway in your neighborhood?
Probably, honestly.
There was no Teslas in the neighborhood?
No. My neighborhood is a lot of retirees,
Right.
and they just weren't running out to spend Tesla money on cars at that time.
Right.
Did you get a lot of, certainly the driving around and the thumbs up experience was a little bit different in a Bolt versus a Rivian?
Yeah.
A Bolt.
I know. Any remember any key takeaways, people like giving you the finger or interested perhaps, or?
Nah, that one didn't attract a lot of attention because it was that was the one weakness of it, right? When we voted for car of the year, was that like the advancement design wasn't as strong as some of the other
Pretty high dork factor.
Pretty dorky. And Ford, when I got a preview of the Mach-E, and that was one of their things, was like, we didn't want to build a Chevy Bolt. We wanted to build something that was like, had dramatic design, was in Ford's mind, quote unquote, cool, which is why they tagged it with a Mustang badge and all that.
Well, and Chevy did it themselves. The Bolt concept was cooler than the Bolt production car.
Yeah.
And they actually made it like less cool when they put it into production. But
Damn good car, though.
it was a great car. I really liked that car. And that was the car where I really learned that it's not actually range anxiety anymore. That was what we were calling it. Everyone was worried about range anxiety. The problem wasn't the range. That car went 230 miles or so on a charge. The problem is charging anxiety. It's chargers. And it still is today. That is there going to be a charger where you're going? Is it working? Is the real question.
Which is getting worse.
Even if it's there and it's working, are there 4 other cars in line ahead of you waiting to use it because there's only one?
Right.
That's what I've learned too, driving an EV every day. It's not range, it's charging.
Yep. Yeah, because, I can charge at home. But there are certain times when, say, my spouse decides not to plug it in for God knows what reason. Or even I'm like, okay, the truck's at 50%. I want to just pop it up to 85% because I have a thing I want to do. I'm going to run to the charger. I run. They're all broken. there's 15 Ioniq 5s trying to charge, and I go to the other charger, and one's broken, and there's 6 cars waiting for 2 chargers. So it really has become charger anxiety.
And then on top of that, you have the people that are plugged into the 350s that can't actually use it.
ID4 on a 350.
Yeah.
That's Ed's signature move.
I will say that's mostly because, well, it's super fast. It goes right up to the limit, 149 on my car.
Your battery has 15 minutes of life left.
But it's mostly because the other chargers are taken. Like, I'll be honest. Like, the 350's open. That's weird. Hang on. But Christian's interesting position because you guys own Crosstrek plug-in, which is what, 14 miles of range?
17, yeah.
17 miles of range. And then you got this F-150, but you do not have a home charger.
Correct. So the Crosstrek, we bought it years ago when we rented still, and we plugged it in with the mobile 120 outlet charger. It's got a really tiny battery. It's 8.8 kilowatt hours. It's nothing effectively.
How long does it take to charge that?
Overnight on a 120, 8 to 12 hours, give or take.
Okay.
Which isn't bad. It's perfectly fine.
And that's your wife's car?
Yeah.
And what's her commute?
None anymore, but it used to be 50 miles.
How many tanks are you putting in a year on that Crosstrek?
I filled it up recently, and I looked at we have a fuel log for it. I hadn't filled it up since I want to say October or maybe September of last year.
Yeah. That thing probably has a 13-gallon tank.
Smaller, it's like 9.
You gotta once a year at least go through the gas.
Or put octane stabilizer.
It gets enough gas. Yeah, but it's so I've been living with a level 1 charger. I haven't been able to install a level 2
So then what
yet.
do you do with this 300-mile range F-150 with 110? How big is the battery?
130 kilowatt hour battery.
Same as Rivian.
It's pointless to charge it on a level 1 outlet. It's just, why bother?
Just to maintain the charge overnight. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But thankfully, there's a 350 kilowatt station literally a half mile from my house.
Electroamerica?
No, EVgo, so it works.
Ooh,
Jonathan Levy would love that.
Levy, got to get him back in here.
He's the CEO, Chief Commercial Officer from EVgo was on. Where is the EVgo? Is it at a gas station?
No, it's at a grocery store.
Okay.
Yeah, it just opened up pretty recently, and it mostly works. Sometimes it doesn't, but
one?
It's 2 350s, and they actually split. And so I had a Tesla pull up to me, and then it started pulling 120 or something kilowatt hours while I was pulling, or kilowatts, and I was pulling 150, which is pretty impressive. I haven't seen a 350 tower do that before. And then there's 2 100 kilowatt towers next to it, so it's plenty.
And what's the experience like driving around in an F-150 Lightning? Do people? Here's what I did have one. I took one from Denver to Colorado Springs, for a family trip, and it's kind of like being. I tell people, you guys won't get this at all. It's like being a Chinese guy when you go to Japan.
Right.
You walk around,
and they're like,
and nobody
slightly off.
Yeah, nobody looks at you or says anything. Chinese American guy walking around Japan until you open your mouth, and they're like, "You're not Japanese." Nobody cares about the F-150 Lightning until you either pull up to a charger and pop that door, or you open the frunk.
Yeah.
When you open the frunk, people lose their mind.
It's very popular wherever I go. Typically, I agree with you. Like when I'm driving around, no one really bothers me. But it's when I pull up someplace or I stop and someone has a chance to stare at it. Like I was picking up my mom from the airport the other week, and I had my dog in the backseat, the windows down. And, I'm looking for my mom. All of a sudden, there's someone talking to my dog. Like, excuse me. Is that the electric one? And I was like, yeah. Can I see the frunk? I'm in the white zone, but sure. I'll hop out and show you.
That is my favorite thing, though. Like, it especially like grocery stores, to put all my groceries in the frunk, because it blows people's minds when suddenly they see you pick up a bag and put it in the engine. They're like, what are you doing?
So I had a woman come up to me and ask me if the car had broken down. She's like, do you need help? And I was like, no. I was putting I don't know, bottles of water in the front.
That's when you go, I do. Where's my engine? What happened? And she'd probably lose her mind too.
I love the people that don't say anything. They're like, kind of creep up and then they look around the side of the car to peek in. Like, what are you doing? And then there's no engine. What's going on?
Well, I actually had to sit down and give my wife bullet points, because she's like, people come up and they ask me all these questions. I don't know. I go, okay, here's what you say. You say this, you say that, because it's like, yeah, people just
You didn't tell her.
Just
you
show
didn't
them your tunnel.
Surely you didn't tell her the truth, right? Tell her to say anything.
what it costs.
No, say yes. This is the Cybertruck. This is Elon. Like just have her.
No,
just
but I don't know.
lie.
Did you get this, Scott? My number one question is, well, it goes like this. It goes, what is that? Oh, it's a Rivian. Who makes it?
Yes.
Rivian.
Yes.
No. Who makes it?
Yeah, does Tesla make it?
Yeah,
no,
is that a
Rivian
Tesla?
makes
Yeah,
it.
does Tesla make it?
And
Yeah, I
then
get that
just
all the
like
time.
dumbfounded, like what?
Right. Okay.
I got literally 2 days ago at a drive-through like Starbucks. I got like, what's a Rivian?
Right. So we'll come back to you. You with the Christian. Sorry.
They're all used.
You're surcharging at EVgo.
Yeah.
You have a L1. You're plugging in at home for the Crosstrek, but you recently tried to put in a Sunrun bidirectional charger that would allow your F-150 to power the house, but also you to charge the car. Correct?
Yes.
This was like the number one story on MotorTrend.com for like
How
a
did
week.
that go, Christian?
Not well,
Yes.
Scott.
So
not
can you,
well.
if just a brief summary
Walk
of
us
this
through
of
the
this story?
process.
So this big selling point that Ford has with Lightning is the bidirectional capability. So they partnered with
Which is what?
So that means that you can use the battery of your truck to power your house in the event of an emergency. Like right now, it's primarily for if there's a blackout.
Right. And Ford has done, to their credit, they started this actually. They learned about this with regular gas F-150s, and they put the onboard generator on it. And very cleverly, this happened, what was it, 2 years ago?
Texas.
Two winters ago in Texas.
It was the F-150 hybrid.
Yeah, that deep freeze that they
Yeah.
had where all the power went out. Jim Farley, CEO, got on the horn and said, every Ford dealer in Texas, if you got a hybrid on your lot, deploy those into the neighborhood to charge people's homes, because that is actually a genius move. And everybody knows the industry for the gas pickup trucks are trying to copy them, because if you think about it, an onboard generator and a thing that already has a giant motor and a huge gas tank could power your home for like 7 days.
Forever.
Yeah.
That's
Forever, yeah.
That's a genius idea. They've moved this ability now, sort of, to the Lightning, where they make use of the giant battery and allow you to theoretically charge your home. And it could be like standard residence, I think 3 days or to a
I think
week.
3 to 7.
I think 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're saying if you
depends.
really stretch it, they told us up to 11 days if you really
That's
are
like
judicious about
Just
it.
your fridge,
That's your fridge
and
and
a
your lights,
heater or something.
lights,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in the
Internet.
case of the F-150 hybrids and things, they have plugs in the bed. Then
Which
in the
Lightning
cab,
also
so
has.
you would run an extension cord, but in the case of the Lightning, you can get this special charger.
Yeah, so the special charger uses a CCS adapter, which is a fast charger adapter, plugs into the Lightning, it charges your car, your truck, excuse me, but that's paired with a Sunrun inverter. And so in the event of an outage, the inverter clicks on and it automatically starts taking energy from your Lightning's battery and into your house. And right now it's just for an outage, but like long term, there's no reason this couldn't be used for like a virtual power plant to sell energy back to the grid or to support the grid during the 4 to 9 hours where it's peak load.
But you need, first of all, you need to have a Lightning.
You need to have a Lightning.
You need to have do you need to have the big battery?
You do need to. Actually, I thought that you did, but I was reading on some Lightning forums the other day that apparently you can opt in and subscribe to the feature with a standard range battery.
Okay. And then is there another package you need for the truck, or?
No, I think that's it. It comes with this Ford Charge Station Pro charger, which is an 80 amp charger, which is a huge draw. Like Scott was saying, 32 amps for his. So
Yeah, mine is on a 60 amp circuit. I have a level 2.
that's a pretty standard deal.
Yeah, most. Well, I mean, just to nerd out, I really don't know the words I'm about to say. I just know I've been told this, but most people run a 50 amp circuit, and you get 40 amps to the charger. Someone said, "Why don't you put a 60 amp because it's 80% efficient? And that way you'll get 48." And I said, "Okay," and I made my electrician change it out.
Yeah.
But 80 is big.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, Ford says that charger at 80 amps can charge the Lightning from empty to full in I think 8 hours, which is it's quick.
That's big.
Versus 22 hours on a 32 amp probably.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not all gravy.
No, it's not.
It was cheap and easy.
Yeah, it's not cheap and easy. So to do this, Ford partnered with Sunrun, which is a solar and energy storage company. And so, they send you this charger. They say, hey, call Sunrun. And actually, Sunrun reached out to us. They emailed you asking. So, I got in contact with them. They were super nice on the phone. They're super nice. They told me.
I like how you were about to say initially.
They were always nice, maybe incompetent later, but they were always nice to me.
Yes. Now, Sunrun's a solar company.
Solar company. They do battery backups.
I have many things to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Yeah, they told me that just to install the charger, they'll do that. No backups or anything. That was like $2,000 plus any modifications you need to do.
But no backups meaning what? No backup battery?
No backup battery. Literally installing the charger in your wall.
So, but that's for the price of the charger.
The charger comes with the truck. You're
On the
paying
higher
for
trim
it.
levels.
Yeah,
Wait, 2,000 to install
just to
it?
install. Yes.
Oh my, that should be like 450.
Well, hang on. Is there anything weird about where they're trying to install it?
No, not that's a
No,
flat. That's like their flat.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
because an electrician, my guy, I believe he charged me $435 to physically install the charger and wire it up.
The cost is, as I understand it, there's a labor rate. So your electrician and your union electrician guys will be $180 to $200 an hour, and then it's material cost to run it from the panel to wherever you want to put it.
Well, okay, hang on real quick. So
So for me, it was 10 feet. It cost about $800.
So for
2 hours of time.
For mine, I when I had to get a new panel before I got the charger, because we had to get a new air conditioner for the house. So when he was putting the new panel in, I said, hey, run 2 lines, because I have 2 driveways at my house. I said, run 2 lines so I could put in 2 chargers eventually. And so it was a line sitting there capped waiting for the charger to go in.
Okay.
So he
But
charged.
it's still, it's time and distance.
Yeah, but this was I mean, he charged me.
So $2,000 would mean you were trying to put this thing from like really far away.
No, just in general, and that includes a standard, I think, 20 or 30 foot run if there's that much run. But remember, it's an 80 amp charger, so it takes a lot of electricity. So I think that's part of it too. The code's going to be more stringent for.
It should just be a bigger circuit breaker and bigger wiring.
In theory, yeah. I mean,
2,000 sounds nuts if that's all they were doing.
That's all they were doing. So
that's nuts.
If you wanted to use it to back up your house too, they'll sell you to install the charger and install the inverter and give you the inverter for about $9,000. And the inverter just is a box that sits in the wall.
And still no battery.
The battery's in the truck. I mean, that's what you're.
No, but like no like wall storage or anything like in your house or anything like that.
Why is an inverter $9,000?
And then
I'm in the wrong industry.
Yeah,
and then you're not, and then sun run, you're not even calculating the sun part of it, right?
No, and honestly, I never even got to, jumping ahead. I never even got to the point where getting a solar quote on top of that, which would be.
I'll tell you that it's 20 to 25,000.
Where when you were all said and done, like how much were they quoting you to do your house?
Well, yeah. So this is just the basic quote they're giving to every Lightning owner. For my house, which is like a 50s single family home, detached garage, it would be $17,000, $17,638, something like that.
We rounded up to $18,000.
Yeah, $18,000, and that's because I have a 100 amp panel because my house is older. But then again, the average age of a home in the U.S. is probably about 40, 50 years old, so it's not uncommon. There's a 20-foot less run to the garage to bury an overhead line. And then a sub panel in the garage.
You had to have a sub panel in the garage?
I would have to do a sub panel, yeah, because I don't have a sub panel in the garage.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get that because that's a little bit of cost there.
That's a little cost,
yeah.
but not much.
No, not much.
Yeah,
It's not $18,000. And even taking them for their word, like let's say it's an $8,000 inverter, which it isn't. That's still an $11,000 estimate, $10,000 estimate. I had an electrician come by, and also I live next to like 3 electricians. It's super weird. It's super bizarre. I don't know why.
And they haven't just like, hey guys, I'll give you a 6-pack. Like, upgrade my panel.
I'm sure they would.
Okay.
I don't want to take advantage of my neighbors, but yeah, I mean,
maybe a little for science.
Yeah, I mean,
for MotorTrend, for Ed's sake.
Right.
But so to do it the right way, to do it, how MotorTrend in general is recommending people to do it, to do a sub panel, do a panel upgrade, and like a NEMA 1450 outlet and all that stuff. That's $6,000. Which is much more palatable, and it's about talking to other people in the neighborhood and electricians in general. Like,
so there was not. Is there anything proprietary about the equipment they were trying to sell you? Could you have done this with?
So yes, you can do this on your own. The automatic feature, from what I can tell, it's very, very difficult to do on your own. Most Lightning owners are doing what you guys were just talking about with the F-150 hybrids. They are getting a manual transfer switch installed next to their panel, and then in a power outage, they're just walking out to the garage, plugging the Lightning in the bed to the manual transfer switch, and then turning it on. And that's
plugging,
powering the house.
Meaning using the big. There's a 240
in the bed.
In the bed, not Because what the Sunrun, you would actually use the J1172.
It's a CCS actually.
The CCS
Yeah.
handle. Okay.
Yeah, so
the same
instead
port that charges the truck. Yeah,
Yeah,
also sends the power back.
right. So so there's
So
no
it's
automatic.
convenient, but you don't need to do it that way.
Exactly, and people are doing this for maybe $2K or so. It depends on the house and your house's load and everything.
Right, because I mean, anyone who's ever had a generator at their house, like live out in the sticks, and they've got a backup generator, like you have the transfer switch. They're not that expensive. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So you just
Settled technology.
Yeah.
you just run an extension cord to your truck, basically.
Yeah. So the only advantage I could see of the Sunrun system would be, if you have money that's burned, and you're in a newer house, and it's easy.
But a newer house would have a 200.
It would,
yeah,
and in
volt,
theory, it
yeah.
should be fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, the automatic ability, and also the fact that there's probably going to be a case in a couple years where you can sell the energy from your Lightning battery back to the grid, because Sunrun is already trialing that in Northern California and in Florida. So I mean,
Well, I don't know if this is come up, but like, I imagine there is a breaker in the truck, even if you're in a power boost hybrid or whatever. Like that 240 volt plug in the bed can only put out so much amperage.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're trying to run too much off of it, you're gonna blow the breaker in the truck.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because I don't know the amperage off the top of my head, but if you run it from the CCS, from the home integration system, there's still a breaker, and you're still limited to the circuits you can power.
True. I just imagine that I would hope that the big giant charger for the whole truck that's running at 80 amps could do a lot more than the plug in the bed that's meant to run power tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say without direct firsthand
Oh, I
experience.
mean, yeah,
but-
I could run a fridge, and I mean,
Right.
80 amps is a lot. I mean, there's nothing in the only thing in your house that's 100 amp is from the pole to the house is 100 amps.
But also, I mean, you could charge a vehicle at a level 2 rate from the bed of an F-150 Lightning. So like it is a full, like I think it's 7.6 kilowatt output in the bed. So it's a good amount of electricity, and for most people, that's fine.
Right. If you're just trying to run the fridge and a
Your
few
modem
things, like,
and-
So two comments. So one, I mean, in my experience getting solar panels, it's the solar industry is one of the worst industries in terms of competence. Maybe Electrify America's work just to bash them a little bit. But like, yeah, I mean, I remember like, signed the papers in November right before Thanksgiving. I said, when am I going to have these solar panels up and running? December, January, first week of January at the latest. April, middle of April, I'm screaming at this woman like, I'm going to stop paying you, and I want you to pay my power bill, because they just still weren't working.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that you ran into that.
It's a shame. It's such a great idea. Like, and it's just sitting there. Like, I mean,
Right.
why not use it for something?
Right. And yeah. So
Speaking of solar, you did your own install.
I did. So
And why?
cost is the
it's 20
big question.
grand to put solar panels on your roof. Yeah.
Well,
Is that
and-
including the materials or?
Yes.
Well, in
yes.
20, it's kind of the floor.
Okay.
Like
Yes,
depending on how many
yeah.
panels, things like you can go up from there.
I want to say
easily.
ours was like 23,000, and it was. But we did one where we took out like a 30-year lease on the panels, so it's just like I pay $112 a month is what we pay
Can I ask
for the
what
solar
company you
panels.
went with?
Oh, it was either Sunrun or so I don't even.
One of those.
It was such an awful experience. I just put it out of my. Literally at one point when it failed DWP inspection for the third time, because like one of the rules the power department has is the line has to be like 4 or 6 inches from the side of the house, the corner, and they put it on the corner. And I said, how do you not know that? And the guy turns around and looks at me and goes, we're not a very good company. And I said, you know what? Cool. All right.
But
Honestly,
wait,
gets you a long
why
way.
did you? What I meant, why did you even bother? Like, what's the interest?
Me?
Yeah,
Why not? It's
expensive.
I would
but
do
it's
it.
the right thing to do. And and it was look, the way it was I was looking into it.
But did you want to put power back in the grid? You want to make money off of it? You're just what was the?
I wanted to use green energy to wash my dishes. That was I didn't
you
like
could wash
why.
them by hand.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry.
But so we looked at a bunch of things, and I just found this program, and it was like, they came out, they said, okay, you guys use, I'm making these numbers up, but you use 7.6, kilowatts a day or month or whatever it was. We're going to put enough panels to give you 8 kilowatts, and your average bill, your electricity bill for this year was $112 on average. So, for that money, we'll give you solar panels, and you lease them from us for, 20 years or 30, whatever it was. And then when you go to sell the house, just put the payout amount into the price of the house and blah blah blah. It raises the value of your house. It also actually helps keep your house cool because like all that sunlight is not hitting your roof; it's hitting the panels, and they're elevated.
It shades your roof, and that air gap makes a big difference.
Huge
in
difference.
I would have never even thought that.
So why did you do it?
I did it because I wanted to reduce my personal energy consumption. Like everybody who's listening to this has heard that California had some blackouts. Like having we have the most sunshine of most
Anywhere,
states.
yeah.
Like basically here in Southern California, we have all this free power just coming out of the sky that all you got to do is put in a thing and you get it, and it reduces your power bill. And it means that when you have a distributed system where lots of people have solar panels on their roofs and backup batteries and things, when there's peak demand, when they're telling people to turn off their air conditioners and unplug their cars and things, like your power is going back into help feeding back the grid to reduce the strain on the grid so that we don't have blackouts. If everyone had solar in California, we probably wouldn't have the same blackouts that we're occasionally having because you wouldn't be relying on just the power plants running at absolute maximum capacity trying to keep up with everything. If everybody's feeding a little bit back into the grid themselves, or at least covering their own air conditioner power.
And also,
that sounds very virtuous, but it's also really expensive. But your solution was
My
did
solution
it
was
to do it yourself.
Was a company here in Southern California called Go Green Solar, and they design a system and sell you the parts, and you install it yourself. So my all-in start to finish was about $11,000.
Wow.
And I installed it on my own roof. I had to call out the city
You had
to
help,
inspect
though.
it.
You had father-in-law?
My father-in-law came down and helped me.
I'm poking holes. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Come on.
How long did it take you guys to install?
I mean, several weekends. The main part of it, my father-in-law came down and helped, like especially lifting the panels up onto the roof. Probably should have rented like a lift or something for that, but carrying them up trying to lift them up an extension ladder was not the best idea.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean,
But here,
a lot of
let
it
me-
was
let me-
sinking anchors into the roof, mounting the rails, mounting the things to the rails, running the wiring, like bending conduit. It was a lot of stuff that my dad was a firefighter and a licensed contractor, and he taught me a lot about like how to do household electrical. And
You're literally a Boy Scout, an Eagle Scout.
also that.
So this is something that's. You think it's out of reach of the average person to do this themselves?
The average person, probably. I don't think the average person has ever wired an outlet in their house. But if you have that experience, if you've ever done home electrical repairs, you feel confident in that. The gauges of wires are thicker, but it's the same thing. You're splicing the wires together the same way with wire nuts and things that you would anyway. I had to learn how to bend conduit. I'd never done that before, but that wasn't that hard. I watched from YouTube.
You got that metal,
Yeah.
the thing with the thing. Okay. Cool.
Oh, but look, okay, right now my home is generating 2.47 kilowatts of energy. Today it's produced almost 11.9. This month I've generated 135 kilowatts.
How much money are you making off that, huh?
Oh, nothing, because we have an electric vehicle. But here, it's a real thing, environmental benefits. So since we installed them in 2019, we've saved 38,229.9 pounds of CO2, which is the equivalent of planting 289 trees.
How many dolphins is that?
It's 15 dolphins. But you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of the right thing to do.
The number that you quote there too, like, so I have an 80-year-old house. It does not have central heat and air. We have a couple like electric space heaters and things, but on average we use less than 10 kilowatt hours a day. So my 3 kilowatt system, like, basically covers our household usage for the day.
But are
Your bill just
you-
goes away, and I'm not paying, Sunrun or anyone else to lease their panels. I own it.
Yep.
In fact, because my usage was so low, I didn't qualify for any of those deals. Any of the people that approach you outside
Right.
Home Depot,
Yes, we had a
I
big
didn't
fight
qualify.
about that. Yes,
so
yes,
I couldn't use any of that. So I had to buy my own stuff because no one would like give me one of these 30-year lease deals.
Could you add in a battery to that system if you wanted to?
Yeah.
Wow.
But so okay. So let's just back up. You got this. What was the name of the company?
Go green.
Go Green. How many panels you had to install?
Mine was 8.
And they're how big? Four
what are they,
by
about-
8? No, 3 by 6.
Somewhere at 3 by 7, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And they're how heavy? How much was like?
I think they're about 40 pounds each.
So you had to drag. Did you say 8? 6?
8 of them.
8 40-pound panels to the roof. Mount them. Run the conduit and the wiring into your.
Well, Ed, where are you going
Yeah.
with this? Like,
I'm just trying to explain this.
It's
like,
a lot of work. It's
It's absolutely a lot of work.
Was it worth it? Ultimately, is it worth it?
Oh, absolutely.
How's-
Because I was comfortable doing it, like, it was absolutely worth it. It was a couple weekends of time, some frustration with, I'm not an electrician, a licensed electrician, so I don't know all the code rules. We had to go back. I had to failed inspection 3 times.
3 times, right?
Oh, you're like my company.
But it was, yes, except that I was doing it myself.
Right, no, I know. Who did you yell
well,
at?
honestly, it was
Did you yell at your
little stuff
wife?
like, oh, well, the way that this plan is written, it could be interpreted this way or that way, and this way is right and that way is wrong. So you need to clarify it and then resubmit it, and we'll reapprove and come back. Like, it was
I
little,
just
very
want you to
pedantic stuff.
understand how terrible the company that I hired was
All right,
because
all right.
you doing it your first time had failed as many times as they did, and that's all they do.
Did you mount the conduit on the corner?
I did not on the corner.
Well, okay, so but you ran it, so it goes into your this. You don't have a storage battery, so what?
No.
It goes right into your.
So what it does, it goes into the box where it monitors the system. That's where you connect to your Wi-Fi. You get your app on your phone that tells you how much power you're making, all that. And from there, it goes to a big manual cutoff switch where you can disconnect it. And then from there into a breaker in your main panel. And in my case, I was very lucky. My house was flipped when I bought it. So they had already upgraded it to a 200 amp panel. So I got away with not having to do all the work
Yeah.
that Christian is going to have to
So
do.
your energy you're producing is just blended in
Yep.
with the grid stuff. Yeah. So we produce a little bit more, and I think we used to. Now with the EV we don't, but the little bit more was the company was selling it back to DWP.
Are you able? Will you be able to do that at any point or no?
It does. I mean, anything the extra does technically go back to them, but it's
You don't get.
They-
but you don't get anything from that. No discount. No.
I'd have to. They make it as difficult to understand as possible. Like if your power bill could be way simpler, but like they like to break it down into all these different charges and this, and you got to quit for that and a balance for it and a tax.
And the pricing changes depending on the day and the time,
of the day,
Yeah.
all these things. So yeah, in theory, I'm getting credits on my bill, but again,
And
my
you could-
system is small enough. They also, you don't just go to the city and be like, I want to put this in. You also have to clear it with the power company, and they get to like veto the size of your system. So like they looked at how much power I use, and they're like, you can have a system this big. It's not like I could put in a gigantic system and I can just sell them all kinds of. They don't want to buy power from me. They want to
Right.
have their monopoly on it, and they really don't like having to pay. They just lobbied the state very hard to cut the amount that they have to pay solar users.
And part of it's NIMBY too. People you don't want like solar farms like
Yeah.
taking over the neighborhood like every
Who's gonna do
inch.
that? You have to
Oh,
own
lots
land.
of
So,
people
like,
would do that.
I could put, in theory, more things
Yeah.
that make more power, but like Edison literally will not let me.
How does it work? They got some guy running around. Like, what if you had done this and not told anybody?
Well, they're going to find out.
Yeah.
Edison's going to figure out. They've got smart meters now. They're going to figure out that the meter's running backwards in the middle of the day.
No. Couldn't you just install a completely separate system that you just put an outlet?
grid.
yeah, you could.
Yeah.
You could.
They can't stop you from doing that, right?
I'm sure there's a
they
code
could
thing.
just send the city after you. Yeah.
For what though?
The code violation. Like you
Yeah.
have to get approval to do all this stuff. Like I need an electrical permit. I needed a bunch of, I needed multiple inspections.
Yeah, there's a lot of inspecting.
yeah.
So, I mean, I
Sounds
guess
shady.
you
They
could.
don't
like- they
Yes,
don't
you
like
could.
people
Let's-
playing
yes,
with high
Ed,
voltage
Ed,
with
you
that.
should do that. You should totally do
I'm gonna
that.
totally do it. Like, okay. So the next step. So is there a coming upgrade? Are you gonna put a battery in at some point?
Someday. That would be a nice thing to add. Honestly, before that, I'll probably upgrade the charger. Like AeroVironment doesn't even exist anymore. They got bought out.
Yeah.
This 6.6 kilowatt charger is like the slowest.
Yeah, you
level
should
2
get
charger
a
you can
48
get, so-
volt. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I should get a battery. But I'm also like, well, what if like Rivian one day they just do an over-the-air update where it just runs backwards and all I have to do is just put an inverter in.
They're talking about it.
No, I know that. Yeah, trust me, I know they're talking about it. So I'm like, maybe I don't want to buy however much they cost, $10,000 battery. I already have the truck. So
Right, you already have a 1herty kilowatt hour battery sitting in your driveway.
35.
Well,
135,
so that's my last question on this topic for you both. Is this at all offsetting the charging of your electric pickup trucks? Is this
Oh,
helping?
not
at
at
all?
all. No. I mean, look, I can tell you, like, so, today, come on, phone, open up. We are at 11.9 kilowatt hours. The truck takes, I don't know
Yeah.
what, 70%
That's
of
the thing, yeah.
135.
At high noon, when the sun's directly overhead in August, that my system's making 3.2 kilowatts. If everything's working perfectly, the truck's pulling down double that per hour while it's charging. So
Yeah.
yes, it offsets. Like, my bill is less than it would be if I was just pulling it all straight off the grid, but like it's not making it free.
Yeah. But like lifetime, 24.7 megawatt hours of energy. So
Okay, last question.
It generates a lot of power over time.
Would you do it again, Johnny Lieberman?
Solar panels. Not only would I do it again, I would figure out a way to put in way more panels because
Like the tiles or something.
Like right now. Well, my house is cool. You've been there. You can't see the panels at all because it's a Spanish style house, and so you can't see them. But they were only, they said, hey, you make 7 whatever the metric was. We're only going to put in this many panels, and it covers a third of the roof. I would like the whole roof covered in solar panels because why not? So that's what I would do. And I'd love a battery backup if I had unlimited funds, and I'm sure there's a way around it if you have unlimited funds.
Right.
Put as many panels as you want.
Part of the reason I did it too is that like I said, my house doesn't have central heat and air. Like we bought a portable air conditioner after this that works great in the one room that it's in, but like it was okay, if we're going to get an air conditioner, we know those add a lot of strain to the grid. Like it's, just making it worse for blackouts and things. It's going to cost us who knows how much. I've heard horror stories from friends who live up in the valley who run their air conditioner 24 hours a day in the summer, and it's $300 a month. Like if we could put solar panels up, at least that would offset the cost of having AC or having heat in the winter and things too. Like it would really help us in other ways besides just, being nice for the planet.
So you would do it again?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Any changes to it?
I'm trying to get Christian to do the same thing. I told him I'll come over and help him install
I would
on the
do
roof.
it. So I want to do solar. When my roof's ready to be replaced, that's honestly when it makes the most sense, I think. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I would for sure do it.
All right, let's change gears and talk about the other big story of the year that you did, Christian, and then we'll go a little broader into Tesla. So, electric vehicle-wise, you now famously, and this is a huge credit to you, you were tracking Tesla Semi since launch, and you found out that one of the first publicly announced Tesla Semi vendors, a division of PepsiCo, like Frito-Lay, they were doing an event up in their chip making factory in Modesto.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the only automotive outlet.
If there's another one there, they're really late in the story.
Well, who else was there? It was newspapers. And
it was
stuff?
all
Like
newspapers. Like the congressman for that district was there.
Like 5? How many people were out there?
Oh, I would say 100.
Oh, really?
120.
Oh,
They had a
all
tent
right.
set up and everything in their parking lot. It was a whole.
But this was a Frito-Lay
Yeah.
demo of the Tesla Semi.
Well, to be fair,
Sort of.
they just revamped this whole entire factory to be net zero. So they have a huge solar farm there. They have batteries backup batteries on hand. They installed a bunch of chargers for their fleet of BYD yard tractors, which move the trailers around. They do last mile deliveries with Peterbilt EV box trucks, and then they have these Tesla semis.
How many?
At the time, it was 6, but they're supposed to be getting up to 15, I believe. The rest are going to Pepsi in Sacramento.
Did they have snacks at this event?
No. What? Brandon and I were like, where's the gift shop? Where are the snacks?
Fritos?
No chips, nothing, no flaming hot Cheetos.
There was a display in the back that looked like "Don't touch it," and Brandon and I, seriously, Brandon, our photographer, and I were like, okay, we need to maybe get some fun.
This is the worst joke.
No chips. I would have
Pep-
had so many Fritos.
No Pepsi free and like baked Lay's or something.
If there was there, I didn't see it, other than that big display. And
Okay, but this is a day long activity.
Well, at least they're do-gooders, but you got to feed journalists.
You didn't get to drive or ride in the
no
truck.
driving or riding. I asked multiple times before and at the event. I figured, how could you say no to this face?
Right.
They did.
I know how they could say that.
Yeah.
What did they give you a reason why they wouldn't do it?
Long story short, they set him up for the event. They had like little displays. They didn't want to move anything.
Okay,
so
fair,
whatever.
But you saw the Tesla Semi hooked up to trailers.
Yep, I saw it at their new supercharger, which Tesla fans call the Mega Charger. And I mean, the truck is pretty cool because they had a whole fleet of natural gas Volvos that they use for long distance travel there too. And that looks like a normal, Volvo Semi. This Tesla Semi is otherworldly. It's cool, which is,
Why is the charger positioned on the Tesla Semi in a way that you have to detach the trailer to charge it?
Because it's wasted time for the trailer. They have so many trailers. What they do is they unhitch at the loading dock, and the trailer gets loaded while the trucks are charging. There's better use of the trailer's time than being stuck there. I initially thought the same thing. I was like, this is so stupid. Why would you not have a pull-through charger? But
Right.
they're doing out and backs to like
Yeah.
San Francisco and San Jose.
They're not driving across the country for the sport of it.
Well, the thing is, I mean, as much as these are like snack food companies, they're also logistics companies. Like they've got a lot of data on where their trucks and trailers are and what they're doing at every minute of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now they're only using them on little routes, 90 miles one way, out and back, and then coming back and charging. And
What's the range?
Tesla says 500 miles. The truck drivers I spoke with said that sounds right, but they don't really know the battery size. They're guessing. They don't care.
What do we guess? What do we guess the battery size to be?
1,000.
1,000, yeah,
Right.
1,000 kilowatt hours. So
So-
1 megawatt.
So it's 10 Model S's sewn
10
together.
Model S's
Yeah.
stacked in between the rails of this truck.
Underneath the cab and everything, yeah, yeah, and then it uses a Model S or Model X plaid powertrain, but flipped around backwards. So the front motor of the Model S, the single motor, is the back axle, and that's just the highway drive unit. And then the dual motor rear axle of the Model S is the middle axle of the semi, and that is the acceleration unit. And so that they must use like a Rivian-like clutch, because in conservative mode you disengage the rear axle in the Rivian. So they disengage that axle when they're cruising at a highway speed.
So this is a 3-axle,
It's a 3-axle truck, Class 8
including
semi,
including the front wheels,
including the front wheels.
But
which
they're
are
not-
but
they're
they're
not
not. But the
powered.
front wheels
The
are not
front wheels
powered.
are not powered. There's a front, but it's all power electronics in the front,
Okay.
and there's nothing driving the front wheels at all.
Okay.
So it's like a typical semi. Apparently, doing research, a lot of them are actually 4x6s, so 4-wheel drive.
And is it 4 motors or 2 motors?
3 motors.
3 motors.
So it's 2 in the central axle, and then 1 in the back axle.
So just one Model S front-wheel drive unit is enough to keep it an 80,000-pound truck
moving
at
55.
50, 65
Yeah.
miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of torque needed to get it moving, but
Sure.
once you're moving,
Oh, I just came with an idea to break the internet. We should do a world's greatest drag race with semis.
I mean,
the drivers I talked to said it drives like a car, and so I mean, it's
Yeah?
probably quick.
I don't know if that would break the internet, but it'd be a lot
Oh,
of fun.
dude, it'd be
It
the
would be
only
a lot
one
of
out
fun.
there. All right,
Yeah.
we'll-
I mean,
we'll-
didn't they put out a video where they had them like it was just passing all these other semis like up the pass through like up Highway 80.
We gotta be
through Reno,
from
like-
zero with a burnout.
Yeah.
I think that's what
That would be cool.
It's still no gears. It's just a
Yeah,
direct drive.
it's automatic.
Can
Wow.
we take a Tesla semi racing down like in South America where they still like race like the
Yeah.
cab over semis?
I would do that.
Is that the coolest Tesla event you've been to? That's
It
not
was
really
the most organized Tesla event I've ever been to.
because it was not organized by Tesla. Zing. What other notable Tesla events have you attended?
We did the backgrounder in the Cybertruck. We went and watched that be built. We went twice to go help them on that. I don't know if we actually did or not, but I was the first journalist to ride in the Model 3.
Where was that?
Hawthorne at their design center.
Okay. Scott, well, how about you? What's your best
I went to the
worst Tesla?
the big reveal at the Fremont factory for the Model 3, where they had the big, the stage and like 1,000, Tesla owners there, and a big program with lasers and the whole 9 yards. It was a big giant party, and Elon was like the rock star coming out on stage with all these adoring fans, going nuts for him.
Johnny, what
I mean, I've actually mercifully avoided a lot of
you've
that
never
stuff.
done? Have you?
I went in 2009 before I was at MotorTrend. I went to SpaceX to see the Model S debut. When it came out and moved about 1 mile an hour, and everybody was like, pfft. And Elon was like, he just looked like he was like, I don't know, he looked like, I think he hadn't slept in about 2 months, basically. Right. And I interviewed him, and I remember I use this all the time, but it was like the most, still to this day, the most insane line. I was like, so are you like a car guy? And he goes, no, not really. Well, I had a McLaren F1. And I'm like, that's like, are you into art? No. Never mind the Kandinsky over the fireplace. You know what I mean? Just
Both can be
just
true.
rich, I guess. But still, you don't accidentally buy a McLaren F1. I mean, that's you're into cars if you buy that.
Or you're just rich.
Even if you're just rich,
It's a weird.
There's only
No, it's
105
literally
of them.
there's firstly you can Google it. There's a 60 minutes clip of him where he and his newlywed bride Justine, his first wife, it's on the episode. He's taking delivery of the F1, and they hop in and they go for a drive like around the corner, and you can tell it's just like, I just sold X.com to PayPal or whatever. I'm like one of the world's richest people, or one of North America's richest people. What should I buy? What's the fastest, most expensive sports car out there? What's my That's how we got it.
I guess so, but you still have to like cars a little bit to get an F1.
Well, but I feel like they were at that time period, because that would have been like the dot com
Yeah,
era.
yeah,
Like,
I want to
the
flex.
F1 was like even people who didn't know about cars had heard about the McLaren F1.
No, not
because
really.
it was so extreme.
But how would you hear about it? Where would you find a dealer? Like, it takes work.
MotorTrend. You would read about it.
Yeah,
MotorTrend.
but
Clearly.
yeah, Elon's totally, now he's reading MotorTrend.
No, you'd ask one person now. Okay, my only Tesla story is, and I like to tell this one because nobody cares or remembers. I went to the battery swap event. Yes.
Oh, I know some guys that care a lot.
I went.
They care a lot.
At the FEC.
Yeah.
No. The guys that write
FTC.
the guys that write the Tesla's failing today blogs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's famously. I don't even remember where it was, but they showed how.
It was on the Grapevine.
Yeah, it was at that supercharger up there.
Yeah, you can pull in.
Down near Harris Ranch.
Yeah, and
4 bolts. Battery comes
out. The thing comes in.
So the controversy was like one of the reasons they got the bridge loan from the Obama administration was because it was hot swappable, and like Tesla's stance, as it always is, was like, yeah, it is hot swappable. No one's doing battery swap stations, and we're sure as hell not going to do it. Right. And everyone else was like, no, you have to make sure it remains hot swappable. Customers need to be able to swap batteries if they want to. But that's. Charging is a fine way to go with EV.
Well, it's weird
swapping
because
batteries is nuts.
I think Xpeng or Neo they're still hot on hot swapping. They're still trying to make that work.
Yeah, I mean, we're just at a point where, like, with big chargers, and you just don't need to swap. Again, a battery weighs 2,000 pounds.
The swapping introduces so many issues, right? Like, besides the actually making the machine do it, like. Then you get down to what VinFast was trying to do, right? Whether you're going to lease the battery, you're not going to actually own it. Because then it's like, if you own this battery, you bought it with your car, but then you took it to the station and they swapped it. Well, now you got a different battery. Well, what was the one that you got? Was it as good as the one?
No, that was Jimmy's battery. Jimmy's battery is a little bit degraded. Jimmy needs it back eventually to sell his car. It's a whole nightmare.
Right. It's a nightmare of like chain of ownership and like what cost and everything else. Like it's just.
Yeah. Because they partnered with that Israeli company. I can't remember the name.
They
did
a trial in Israel with Renaults.
And it was an Israeli company but it's a tiny, there's 2 cities in Israel. You know, it's like, it's very easy to do.
Right. It's not a technical challenge. It's a
logistics
and
nightmare.
Legal nightmare.
Okay. You guys are now 2008? No, when
10.
2010.
July 2010.
Okay, so between you guys there is over
almost 40, but over 30 years.
30 years of MotorTrend
over
experience,
30 years.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
I would say there's
15
37 37 well, 15? Okay, plus 2 plus 1, 38 years of MotorTrend experience.
Okay.
Plus you.
Yeah.
Well, you
guys
200.
You guys write for this audience. You've been writing for them for a long time in print and now online almost exclusively. You all are now sort of owners of electric vehicles. What is the advice you have for anybody who's listening, who's on the fence, considering it, they got their eye on an Ioniq or an F-150 or maybe a Rivian or even a Model Y? What do you want to tell them? I don't know. Like if they're like, I don't know, I kind of want to get one. It's my only car. Or it's going to be the primary car I drive. Yay, nay, anything. Just make sure you have this in mind.
Make sure you have a charging plan. Charging at home is going to be difficult for a lot of people in this country, especially those that live in apartments or that rent. I'm excited that we have Alex Leanne's driving our long-term Honda Ioniq 5 charging it publicly exclusively because he lives in an apartment. But have a charging plan.
So let's talk to that person and assume that they do not have the ability to charge at home.
So if you don't have the ability to charge at home, pull up Google Maps, literally type in EV charging, see what's nearby you, look, the higher the kilowatt hour, the better, unless you have an ID4, in which case you want to stop it around 150. See what's around you, and see if it works for your commute. Can you treat it like a gas station and pop in there once a week? I know, half dozen Tesla owners, so that's how they do it. They, go to work every day, they don't have a charger at home, and then they go to supercharger once a week. You can do that with other cars other than Teslas. So just have a charging plan in place.
Yeah, look at, and not just home, look at work. Look at the gym. Look at the places that you go to regularly.
And opportunity charges are key. Like I don't need to charge every time I go to Whole Foods, but I'll just pop the level 2 charger on and get an extra 5-6 miles in the half hour I'm in there. It gets you going. I only am charging probably every 2 weeks or so, and I'm not charging the truck at home yet.
Okay. All right. Scott.
That's the most important thing, but I would say on top of that, buy adapters. There are a lot of different NEMA plugs out there, different 240 volt plugs. Every 120 volt, plug in your house, you can stick thing into that. And with these big battery EVs, like we said, it basically doesn't do anything useful. It'll take a week to charge it. But 240 volts, houses are all different ages. They've had plugs installed over the years. The standard has changed. Some have 4 prongs, some have 3. Sometimes they're arranged in a circle. Sometimes they're arranged in a triangle. There's all these different things, and it's helped several times from visiting friends or family. I've plugged into my friend's dryer outlet.
You plugged in what? You plugged in the level 1? The portable charger into...
The portable chargers coming today, like the one in the Rivian, is swappable. The part that goes to the truck has the standard J1772 plug. On the other end that plugs into the wall, you just pop it out, and it could be a 120 volt outlet. It could be a 240.
That's what I'm saying. So you're talking about if you don't have one, make sure to get the adapters.
You unplug your friend's dryer, plug your truck in. Yeah.
Right. And what you need to do this is different adapters, because there's a whole bunch of different kinds of plugs out there. I charged off of on my in-laws like rural property in the middle of nowhere off the power drop, because they have a 1430 or something plug on it, and I had the right adapter where I could plug it in the middle of a field effectively.
For how long?
But like 2 hours we were there.
We did that on the TAT trip, which we should talk about a little bit more, I think. But we went to an RV lot and just juiced up for a couple hours while we ate pizza.
Right, but the point of this is that there are lots of different plugs out there. So don't just be like, oh, well, I have a mobile charger, I can just plug in anywhere I go. Like, you're probably only going to get like one adapter with your vehicle, the most common one. But you go to any like RV park or things like there could be different things. It's not standardized.
Where do people get just Amazon?
Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, like any like hardware store. They'll sell you
like $40, $30.
They're like $40. They're about like 1.5 feet long. They've got the 2 different plugs on them, and you just buy a couple, throw them in the trunk, and then you have it when you need it.
I'll add to that something that Scott turned me on to is that you can get adapters for the J connector into a Tesla connector. So if you are in a non-Tesla EV and you're desperate for a charge, you can plug this thing into the Tesla charger, and it plugs into your truck.
It doesn't work at the superchargers, but like any destination chargers, if your friend has a Tesla charger at home, a lot of hotels like installed Tesla wall chargers because those are the only things that people were bringing. Grab one of those. They're the size of a banana, and you just plug into
$40. Like I used it when I went to Modesto to cover the Tesla Semi. I'm so thankful to have it. Yeah.
Huh.
I would say, we spend a third of our lives sleeping. Imagine how much time over your life you spent at gas stations. Now, imagine never doing that again. You never. And it was funny because my wife, she wanted an EV because it's better for the planet, and that was her giant revelation. She's like, I don't go to gas stations anymore. She's like, it's great. And my wife, I don't know if she's like most women, but she always hated gas stations and getting gas. And like now, and yes, we're very lucky. We have a home charger, and we're, the road trips we do, we can do it in our truck. We don't have to really worry about public charging too much. And you have all that time back.
But so this is a very pro EV table here. You're still, let's change the question. If it's the only car you're going to have, and you need it for everything, and you live in the suburbs, so neither real city nor on a farm somewhere. You just kind of, you can assume that you have not awesome access to chargers, but you also want to go do a 300-mile road trip once or twice a month. You can buy one car. You want to spend no more than $60,000. Are you guys, all three of you, recommending an EV?
No, I'm not. I mean, honestly, I think a PHEV is a good bridge technology, and for most,
which PHEV?
40K, or what'd you say, 60K?
60K. Let's just call it 60.
Oh, jeez.
I chose that because that's enough to get you a Model Y, or it's enough to get you a pretty good PHEV.
Oh man, honestly, I don't know. Probably a
Mitsubishi
Grand
Outlander?
Cherokee 4xe. A Grand Cherokee 4xe. I like those a lot.
RAV4 Prime, if you can find one.
Yeah, those are great too.
Well, I would say get an EV apps. If it's 300-mile road trip, who cares? Do that with in your sleep. You have to charge once.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that big of a deal.
I've learned that too. Any road trip where you have to charge multiple times is a huge pain in the ass, but one charge is usually not that big of a deal.
I don't see. That's the thing. I don't find it, and maybe I'm just different, but like I don't find it to be that big of a pain. I've done a lot of road trips in this.
No
Rivian.
kids yet.
I've been to. Yes, that's true. I've been to the Bay Area in California. I've been to Tucson, Arizona. I've been all over the place where I've had to stop multiple times to charge. And look, with a 300-mile range, you're going 200 plus miles before you really are thinking about stopping, and that's about where the chargers are spaced anyway. And at that point, you've been driving for 2 to 3 hours. You want to get out, and you're not like rushing to put gas in the car as fast as you can, get back in the car and go. Like everyone likes to make it the scenario that
you're at Starbucks.
That's like you're doing a NASCAR pit stop and you're out of there as fast as possible. Like, no, you're gonna put gas in your car. You're gonna like wander inside. You're gonna use the bathroom. You're gonna like see what kind of chips they have. Maybe decide between a Coke or a Diet Coke. You're gonna wait in line to pay for it. Like,
I disagree.
You're there for 20 minutes.
I disagree because I did. So over the holidays I have the ID4, right? It's supposed to get 270-ish miles.
Don't get an ID4.
And I went from 2 small towns in California no one's ever heard of, Los Angeles and Sacramento. Okay, it added over an hour on the trip up to do. I had to stop twice because I drive too fast. And on the way back down, it added 2 hours because not only do we have to stop twice, we had to search for and wait for chargers on the 5. We did the 99 on the way up and the 5 on the way back. And again, these are not like unpopulated.
No, that's it. I mean, the waiting for the chargers is a huge problem. There are not nearly enough chargers in California for how much EVs there are. But I will say your ID4 maxes out at 150 kilowatts, I think, charging. Mm-hmm. The Rivian does 220. The Hyundai and Kia do
800
232.
volts.
Yeah, but most of the time I was watching, you'll get the first 5 to 10 minutes, you'll get over 100. Like even I'll get to 140, 130.
Well, you also learn not to have to. If you're really worried about your time, don't charge to 100%.
Yes.
But also to Ed's point that he hit on indirectly, the speed really matters. I've noticed with the Lightning.
Oh, yeah.
If I drive at 80 miles an hour, I'm getting like 1.6 miles per kilowatt hour, which is awful, and I'm doing 200 miles on a charge. That's it. Whereas if I do 70 miles an hour, it's maybe 2, and I can go a lot further.
If you do 55, you're doing 3, which is nobody wants to do that.
It's really sensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but with these things, like I mean, I've done the test. You can charge an Ioniq 5 from like 0 to like 80% in like 18 minutes.
It's
on a
nuts,
350 kilowatt charger that's running right and it's giving you the full beans. Like if you are that worried about how much time you're spending at a stop, and you're trying to get to your destination 6 states away as fast as possible, like yes, get the biggest battery with the best charging system, and you can be in and out of there in under 15 minutes.
But it's also like, humans just lack the ability to think this way. Okay, you added an hour to your trip that one time, but you saved countless hours never going to a gas station and charging at your house. Like your trip sucked. It was inconvenient for 1 hour of your life, but you also got back all that other time on the other end. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you're banking.
No.
Well, we are thinking
Americans are impatient.
I know. Give
right?
me convenience, you give me death.
Well, I will say it was difficult, and I imagine it probably was for you too, to get your mind around the idea of not charging to 100%, right? Like you go to a gas station, you fill to 100%. Why would you not?
Right.
Why would you ever fill your tank halfway and then keep driving? But with EVs, with any decent route planner, you don't do that. You go as far as you can. You get to the charger. You charge to whatever it tells you. Maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 70%, maybe it's 12%, so that you get to the next spot. And it keeps you moving much faster. So you spend 5 minutes at the charger, and then you spend 5 minutes at the next charger, and 5 minutes at the next charger, instead of spending an hour at the first one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's something I did need to sort of wrap my head around. My big problem is we charged the car on the way up. We charged at home to I pushed it to 100% because I was like, why not?
That's
right?
fine. Yeah.
I drove too quickly, and the route planners, because I had the app in the car.
What app are you using?
I was using a better route planner and the Volkswagen app, and I was checking out one of the other ones, PlugShare.
Yeah.
But the one in the car kept moving the next charge location on me based on how fast I was driving. So I was driving too quick. I was depleting the battery too quickly. And of course I was like, I got plenty of range. And what I ended up doing was I didn't overshoot, but I made it so I had so little range when I pulled into the charging stop, and they were all full or broken, that I had no other option. Mm-hmm. Like that's the key learning I had, which is like you can't do that. Right. Just pick one closer, charge a little bit, And then they get that. It keeps your options open as
Right,
you
and this is
go.
what I was talking about when we first started. This is like this is charger anxiety.
Yeah.
There aren't enough chargers, and I think that once it's as easy to find a fast EV charger as it is to find a gas pump, this conversation will cease to exist. When
Well,
you can
I'll
pull
tell
off of any exit on the freeway and find a charger that's free and ready to go, and you can charge up in 15 minutes and be gone, like no one's going to care anymore.
Well, my advice to my own question, if it was like say $40,000 or less, it would be to get a PHEV. If it's $60,000 or less, my advice to anybody who's listening and who probably lives in the state of California or on the coast somewhere is get a Tesla. Because the chief annoyance for me was every time we pulled over to stop to charge, it was usually at a location that had superchargers nearby, and they were shining, clean.
10 times as many of them.
10 times as many. They were only 20% full, and they're under an awning that was well lit, and there was no garbage anywhere.
You didn't have to use an app. You didn't have to swipe a credit card. You just plug and
so
go.
if you're an impatient American, the answer, truly, and you might not like it, the answer is still probably Tesla.
I will say you can get plug and charge in a lot of newer vehicles. And
it's starting to happen now.
Hyundai's and Genesis
the Lightning
are doing
does that too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
And it really is. It needs to be the future because like if you had to have a different app for every gas station you went to, you'd lose your mind. Like customers would not accept it. So we cannot keep doing this way that we are. I've got 9 different charging apps on my phone from all the different road trips I've been on over the years where I've needed to download the app so I can turn on this one stupid charger that I'm never going to use again.
Right.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions. You have any more questions?
I could come up with some more
I
questions.
mean, I had one.
Well, let me.
Oh, I got one. Yeah, this is a good one. And this is my last question for Christian because we got to go. Christian is in charge of one of his many duties. Is in charge of the letters section for MotorTrend. The people still write us letters. We also get a lot of emails. So every month, 30 days or so, he puts up on Slack like, here's all the letters, and we talk about the fun ones, the threats, the ones from prison that come in. Anything worth comment? Any favorites you want to share related to our coverage of EVs, our coverage of Truck of the Year, perhaps? We got a lot of crap for picking electric pickup trucks 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's all people who seem to get their news from the same spot, and they're spewing the same talking points. Why are you picking this truck? It can't tow. Well, no, I mean it can physically tow. We've done it before.
Tow's
it can't
great.
tow far. That truck takes energy or cobalt and stuff from Congo. It's like you never knew where Congo was until 5 minutes ago.
Also, I learned something great the other day because I'm researching another article I'm going to write. But do you know that all gasoline, the word is all, is refined using cobalt? Every single drop you've ever burned in your life is refined using cobalt. Every single drop,
That's why it's so valuable.
I can't wait for this.
Every device on this table
Yes,
and in our
but
pockets has cobalt.
for some reason that is not a good argument.
Yeah.
Because it uses less, so it's a little bit of slave labor is okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff like that. Honestly, some of it is.
What about all the death threats I got? Those were fun.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun for me. A lot of it though is really just comes down to anxiety. It's like the fear, uncertainty, doubt. It's and a lot of these letters are coming from older readers who have lived their whole entire lives going to the gas station with a V8 under the hood rather, and it's changing on them, and it's changing so fast they can't keep up, and it's scary. But I mean, it doesn't need to be scary. It's a new thing. I mean, we're not really a country that has been afraid of new things traditionally until recently, it seems.
Yeah. The argument that I always make, that I think about when I hear these arguments, the whataboutism, like, what about the cobalt? What about the thing? The point of the inevitable decision, the point of electrification of vehicles is not just like that we're going to make this big change, but it's sort of like what it unlocks as we get there, right? If we just say, no, we can't do it because this and that, we will never innovate. We now have a lot of really smart people working towards a solution, and we're unlocking new paths all the time. Petroleum was great. Internal combustion engines, great. We've kind of maxed out.
Yeah, it's pretty much maxed out.
We've maxed out the efficiency there. Or at least there's not going to be any of these huge gains in that technology.
Look, the big gain for years was going to be valveless engines, right? You'd have electronics that could work so fast you wouldn't need valves. It would become 20% more efficient. Well, like EVs are, 4.5 times as efficient. So like even getting a 20% gain in petrol like really isn't,
Right.
it's just off the table.
Well, and
even
something that I point out to people a long time too is that it's not just about saving the planet or the efficiency or anything else. Every single car that's driving around Los Angeles right now is a little mobile power plant. It's burning a fossil fuel and it's making exhaust so that it makes your car go. So that means anytime you're standing around, anytime you're in traffic, there's something next to you that's just putting pollution into the air. And it's a lot cleaner pollution than it used to be, but it's still pollution. And we know that the places in cities that have the absolute worst quality or air quality are near freeways, they're near ports. So every time you take a gasoline engine off the road and replace it with an electric motor, that's your local air quality. That's the air that you are breathing every single day, that your kids are breathing, that your parents are breathing, that's getting a little bit cleaner.
And what no one can talk about is that the grid can be made cleaner. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you're using coal, but it's a decision. We could decide not to use coal. We could use the grid can go 100% clean. So it's possible for EVs to be 100% clean, especially if we get our collective hands around battery production, which right now is the biggest sin when it comes to electric vehicles, is that most of the batteries are still made in China. They burn coal to make the batteries, so that you have to drive X number of miles before it's a clean vehicle. But it can all get better, whereas with petroleum, as you said, you're always burning something. Always.
I will say, like, speaking to the enthusiast, like, there are some things that an EV is just better at, like the fine motor control you get. Like, if you like to off-road, like the Rivians, you guys know, like, I drove that back-to-back with a TRX on the TransAmerica Trail, and it was just, I love the Ram. That Ram is fantastic.
Remember, we were both like, "Is this the greatest vehicle the world
Yes.
has ever?" Because before the Rivian, the TRX was
my God.
was our truck of the year, and
Yeah.
I remember me and you were like, "It's got to be the greatest vehicle ever made, right?"
Yeah, and it's just like, off-roading back-to-back, it's like ignoring the suspension, just focus on the powertrain. Like, to get that same control to not lurch, to get up every obstacle smoothly, it's amazing, like what it's capable of.
Again, it blew me away because I did the same thing. I drove the Ram a little bit, and the Ram's a lot of fun, but like it's just old. Even though it's a brand new, cutting edge, 700 horsepower, blah blah blah. Like the Rivian makes more, and it's just it's
And even
wild.
translating to road performance, like electric race cars can be more consistent. I rode along in a Porsche 718 E, whatever they're calling, E Performance or whatever, and you consistently bangs out fast laps every single time. It's all in the driver. It's just better.
Okay. Jonny wrote, this is the last question for everybody. Jonny wrote, you're being lied to about electric cars. It was the best performing article of last year, I think of all time. It might now be on Unique Visitors. Great headline, great subject, well-written argument.
Can I just say something real quick? So Alex Wellen called me,
our boss,
our CEO of MotorTrend, and he goes, and this just shows, what great teamwork we have, because whoever came up with the headline and the deck, and I was like, actually, I came up with that too. Sorry, just a personal moment of.
Did you? I might have heard different.
No. I got it on my laptop. I'll show it.
Okay.
To you. Yeah.
Well, what's the follow-up to what's your next? Because this will be out in about a month, so call it a March, early March.
So my next one is The Grid. You're being lied to about electric vehicles, Part 2, The Grid. And preview is that if every car magically became an electric vehicle overnight in the U.S., the consumer grid, now, I didn't know this, there's the grid, 80% of the power in the U.S. is for like industrial applications or businesses, but the consumer grid, in other words, to charge at home or in apartment complexes, would have to be increased by, are you ready? 27%.
That seems doable.
27%. California's plan, which Governor Newsom has budgeted for, we're going to increase the grid 2% starting, I think, a year or two ago, 2% a year up through 2035, which would be like 28% or whatever. So it's like 100% doable. And it's just going to be about the grid hysteria. And the other thing was, and we had a lot of employees at MotorTrend fall for this, but remember when it was like, California says you can't charge your electric cars. It was like, well, what they said was, don't run your air conditioning or your washing machine or your dryer from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. for 7 days. For 7 days. That's all they said.
And let's not forget, like for those, 3 out of 4 of us here grew up in California. We've been doing this for decades. This is not a new thing. Like the reduce your power, spare the air, OMA, whatever they call it, like from 4 to 9 p.m. We've been doing this forever. This is not a new EV thing. We were doing this, back when everyone had carburetors.
And remember, it worked. We didn't have any power outages. Everyone just said, okay, from 4 to 7, I won't run the AC, I won't wash my clothes, I won't charge my car.
And that's the most expensive time anyway. So I literally have the Rivian programmed right now, so that it charges between 9 p.m. and 4 p.m.
Or 4 a.m.,
the other way. So it starts at 9 p.m. and it goes around and it turns off at 4 p.m. It stays off during the most expensive part of the day, and I still get 19 hours of charging time.
Yeah, well, in LA,
at the cheaper rate.
In LA, it turns out that the cheapest rate is on weekdays is 8 p.m. to 10 a.m. and then it's cheap all weekend long. But so mine's programmed never charge unless I wanted to. I'd turn it off if I need to charge at home. But So, anyways, so
you're being lied to about the grid.
The grid. I'm going to do. I'll give in my head, and then the third one. I think I'm going to do 3. Or I'm going to do 4. But the third one would be about. Mining materials needed, and also recycling, and also we've already a lot like Tesla's moved away from using cobalt and a lot of conflict minerals, and then the fourth one is going to be that basically V12s are going to be around a lot longer than you think. And the idea is that we're entering the thoroughbred period of the internal combustion engine, where not a lot of draft horses, walking around. Lots of thoroughbred racehorses, and so because
EVs will replace the draft horses.
Well, yes, My argument to meatheads is do you really care if a Corolla is electric? Do you really want that 2-liter turbo? That's something you're emotionally attached to. But it's just more okay if you have to go 40,000 miles on a EV before it becomes clean based on the battery production. How many V12s have 30 or 40,000 miles on them? None. The highest mileage Veyron ever, I think, was 20 or maybe 30,000 miles. So there's really no environmental reason to phase out V12s. The gas will become more expensive. The cars will get more expensive. But just like racehorses, they're a fortune. Rich people have them.
It's also a flex, yeah.
It's it's the Thorsten Veblen's theory of the leisure class.
Can you also do a fifth part on the false promise of hydrogen?
Yeah, you can write that
that's
one.
A whole thing in of itself.
Or alternative fuels, biofuels.
Because and I won't go all the way down because I know we've been talking forever. But I took the Toyota Mirai that we had as a long-term car over Christmas a year and a half ago, and that car is the size of an Avalon on the outside. It is the size of a old Corolla on the inside because hydrogen take up a ton of space.
Yep.
Even if we could get hydrogen, which we can't, even if it was economical, which it's not, even if it took less power than it creates, which it doesn't, it takes more. You would make these wildly inefficient cars that have to be huge to fit enough hydrogen tanks to also have seats in them for 3 rows of seating. It's not a consumer solution.
It's a jobs. It's an economic solution.
You should write that. Right. But, and I would say I would honestly throw biofuels onto that too. Right now Porsche's figured it out, $1,000 a gallon.
And they're treading water because you're oh yes, well we're using carbon to make carbon and it's just going in a circle. Great, except that the whole idea is that we want to take more carbon out of the system.
Right.
We just want less. If we're just treading water, we're not actually accomplishing anything. And it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So is that what you're working? The question is, what are you working on? What's the next? What can we expect out of Scott Evans in the next month or so? Just one story. Don't give me 5 like Jonny did. Any big story? Any big stories?
Wow. I got the number one story in the history of motorsport.
Yeah, I only want the second one, and I'll see the third one.
Sorry.
I want to do an EV tour of California. I want to start with an electric bicycle or a scooter, and I want to put it in the back of the Rivian and drive it up to Northern California, where Joby Aviation is building an electric-powered plane that's almost FAA certified. And just up the road from them is Zero Motorcycles that made the first real electric motorcycles. And up the road from them in the San Francisco area is Candela. They're a Swedish company making an electric powerboat. And up the road from them, there's SolarTech that's building an electric tractor for agricultural use.
Okay, stop it. This is a great idea. I don't want anyone else to take it. So stop. Yeah. This is fantastic.
Because Car and Driver listens religiously.
Yes, let's get this one.
They want to do an electric tour from Michigan. We have an electric ice fishing rod.
Right. Christian, I already know you're good. You're following up on Tesla Semi.
Yeah, following on that.
Anything else?
On the meathead aspect, by this time this episode airs, I'll be having driven a SN95 Mustang and a Cobra 92 Cobra R. which I'm super
Not
stoked about.
electric.
Not electric.
Oh, this is
BEV.
for our
Yeah, a
90s.
little
This is for our 90s issue.
Yeah. But I have tons of stuff on the F-150 Lightning. If you are a Tesla semi driver, reach out to me at CZBA _
Okay.
in there.
Ed,
Oh, I don't know. I have the whole thing, the whole big long complaint about this ID4 and how really I don't think this is a thought I've been kicking around. We've talked about it. The EV there is no luxury car manufacturer that should consider building or selling an electric vehicle unless they get the charging sorted. They have to build a supercharger network. They have to do what Mercedes-Benz just announced, which is they're going to build a premium charging experience.
Porsche's doing that in Europe too.
Yeah, it is a deal breaker. I watched this guy when I was up on the way to Sacramento or on the way back. I forget which station it was. But I was behind a Shell station. There were 6 Electrify America chargers. The 350 that was there was broken, but you can't tell. And it was raining, so somebody had tried to put like a Post-it note on it that said "broken," but it had washed off. That's
a metaphor. That should be their logo.
We were in the Taco Bell or whatever with my kid, and I watched this poor old guy in a $170,000 Lucid pull up to it and try to park. He spent 20 minutes parking and reparking on both sides of this charger, while other people sitting next to him didn't bother telling him it's broken. And he's like this old guy trying to charge this thing and just looking at it thinking, what's going on? And I'm like, that is a non-premium experience, and this is horrible. This is going to put so many people off.
Yeah, the other thing I
buying
want to
cars.
write is like the biggest impediment to electric vehicle adoption today is the charging network.
It's the charging experience.
It's not the cost of the cars.
Yep,
it's
yep,
not
yep.
the range. It's the charging experience.
I was looking at my phone on camera because I was trying to find a picture to show Ed. There's not Colton, maybe Colton. My wife found a Electrify America and EVgo, but there's like a Lego store. And there's a thing like the claw that grabs the stuffed animal. They put your kid in like a thing like when they move whales around.
Oh yeah.
Like one of those.
And he can, as many
and they
grab as
lower
twice.
your kid. He can grab. So like that killed a half hour bam.
That's a good one.
I will say, on some level, I do like the idea of an EQS owner having to mix it with the regular folks at Walmart. I mean, it's just kind of democratize the electric car in a way.
Yes.
So.
and we really do need to like transport the good parts of the gas station experience to like EV chargers. Like there's nothing worse than like that EV charger that's at the back of a Walmart parking lot and it's like a half-mile walk just to go to the store to buy a Coke. Like,
look,
give me a convenience store with a clean bathroom and like we're set.
Look, there was
and a working charger.
There was a company the other day. They announced they can charge in 5 minutes, fully charge a 100 kilowatt hour battery in 5 minutes. I sent it to Frank Marcus, our technical director. He's checking it out, and he's like, "Yeah, actually, it looks pretty legit." In a couple years, that's how charging stations will be. Somebody will, it'll just be like a gas station.
Also, can we get some roofs over them so when it is raining or when it's a million degrees outside, like
toilet?
Yeah,
like-
I'd say
but yeah.
bathroom first.
Yeah, bathroom.
Or shade on the windows with the roof.
Ed Lowe, vote for Ed. Bathroom first.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you guys for coming in on short
this was
notice and helping
do
us
this again next year.
drink this brown water that we had. Thank you for bringing it, Johnny.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, this is great. I mean,
We'll check in with you guys in a while. See how this.
And I want Christian. I want you to get a home charger.
I'm working on it actively. Hopefully in the next couple months.
Has Ford reached out and been like, "Hey, you know that article you wrote that like blackened our eye"?
No, nor has Sunrun. I haven't heard from them since I got the DocuSign with the
Sunrun's
quote.
probably too stoned to like Google your name or something.
And I'll tell you off air. But thank you guys for coming. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
thanks guys.